Good. All right. Go ahead and call this meeting to order, February 21st, 2023. We do have a quorum present with all 5 commissioners in attendance. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of the Republic of the nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up, we do have some students from Rock Springs High School in attendance here with us today. They're here to job shadow for the Academy of Public Service. So in attendance is Martha Covarrubias. How bad did I slaughter that one?
Hey, watch that one too.
Easy on the slaughter name. Jaden Frost, Matthew Johnson, Madison Prado, and Caden Wright. Welcome and thanks for being here. The last group gave a speech at this point to the meeting, so you guys have that prepared for today. Just kidding. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. With that, commissioners, first order of business is an approval of the agenda. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve the agenda.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Toman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up is tab A, public hearing on a few budget amendments. We do have Bonnie here with us this morning to present 3 resolutions, and I'll hand it over to you. Good morning, Bonnie.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. We do have 3 budget amendments this morning. The first one is Resolution 23-02-CL-02. This is a Sweetwater County budget amendment to increase the expenditures in the general fund in road and bridge capital in the amount of $3,024 and to decrease the general county reserves in the amount of $3,024. This is due to some diagnostic software that Jean would like to purchase. And if you have any questions on that, or if you want more details on that, he is here and can answer any questions on that. But that is all I have for this budget amendment. Just a reminder, this does need to be opened up to the public for a public hearing before you can vote on it, but you are welcome to ask me or Jean any questions at this time on this one.
Questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Toman.
Yeah, I think it would be good to hear what it's for.
Jean.
So we've been using a certain brand of diagnostic software for all of our heavy equipment for about 3 years. And it's just not adequate for us to use. It doesn't go in depth enough into the different codes. It gives us the fault code, but it doesn't give us the path that it can be on. So this new software that we're looking at actually goes into the manufacturer's diagnostic site on their website and actually will give us the whole entire chain of code. So if you pull an electrical code, it'll say it could be this ECM, it could be this branch of wiring, it could be this wiring harness. So it actually goes all the way down for that. And right now it's on sale. We save about $2,000. And then in the long term, it's about $1,800 cheaper than the other one per year. So.
Thanks.
Any other questions, commissioners? Thanks, Jean. At this time, I would open up a public hearing for the Road and Bridge Resolution 2302CL02. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to this resolution? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I'd make a motion that we approve resolution 23-02-CL-02.
Do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
I would,
Second by
Okay.
Commissioner Slaughter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Next up is Capital Resolution 2302CL03, and back to Bonnie.
Thank you. As the chairman mentioned, resolution 23-02-CL-03 is another Sweetwater County budget amendment. This budget amendment increases the expenditures in the general fund in capital projects and equipment over $10,000 in the amount of $456,500 and decreases general county general reserve in the amount of $456,500. This is for the improvements to the new building that was just recently purchased. This is the anticipated expenditures through the rest of the fiscal year, and that is why this budget amendment is brought to you at this time. Are there any questions, or again, any questions for Jean before this is opened up to public hearing for public comments?
Questions, commissioners? I believe Jean did send us an email kind of outlining what this is about.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Go ahead,
could,
Commissioner Slaughter.
Ms. Perry, just for my edification, we have seen several budget amendments just over the last 2 months since I've been a commissioner.
Yes.
Along with, we've seen some huge capital outlays that were approved right at the end of the last fiscal year or the last calendar year. And I wondered if you could give us an indication of kind of where our reserves sit at this point in time after having made those large purchases.
I do not know off the top of my head, but I would be happy to get you and the rest of the commissioners that information because we have been taking money out of reserves.
If you would do that, I think it would be very beneficial.
Yes, I will email you that information. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's 30 million something. I imagine you want a closer number than that.
That would be including the ARPA funds and things of that nature. So I'm kind of looking just for our general.
Oh, you just want the general reserve. Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I can email you that information later today.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? If not, we'll now open up the public hearing on this capital resolution 2302 CL03. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to this resolution for the budget amendment? Seeing no one beating a path to the podium. Commissioners, what's your pleasure on resolution 2302 CL03?
Mr. Chairman, I would
Commissioner
make
Tillman.
that motion to approve 2302 CL03 and does the chairman have to sign, I suppose? All commissioners sign. Okay. I will approve the motion.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Tillman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And finally, the third budget amendment is resolution 2302 CL04.
Thank you,
Welcome back.
Chairman. Thank you. As the chairman has mentioned, the last one for today is resolution 23-02-CL-04. This is a Sweetwater County budget amendment to increase the expenditures in the general fund and commissioners operating in the amount of $10,000 and decrease the amount of the general reserve, general county reserves in the amount of $10,000. So we're moving $10,000 out of reserves into the commissioner's operating budget. Are there any questions on this before this one is opened up to the public?
Questions, commissioners? Part of this, just for your information, sounds like you probably already know, but the travel budget was a little less than usual given COVID restrictions. And then also there was an increase in the Wyoming County Commissioners Association fees this year that raised that amount to almost $7,000. So that with some additional travel is where the 10,000 comes from.
Thank you for clarifying, Mr. Chairman. I was afraid it might have been due to the mood lighting in the chairman's office.
That was all the paint in your office.
Oh.
Any other questions, commissioners? I do have a question, Bonnie. I know we're over on Title 25.
Yes,
So we're gonna have another one, I assume, to prepare.
I imagine at the next meeting. I did ask about that and I was told that was going to be a discussion at this meeting and to hold off on that.
Okay,
So that was my
probably my
instruction.
fault for that, but I'll follow up with you. I know
Okay,
we were over back for January.
there
so
is-
we're gonna have to try and forecast through the remainder of the year, I guess, somehow, some way, but
okay. And I would be happy to contact the hospital, Tammy, if that's what you would like me to do. But yes, I did ask about that and I was just told to hold off for
Okay.
this meeting on it. And it would be a discussion at this meeting is what I was told. So that's why you're not seeing this one today.
Sounds good. Any other questions, commissioners? Hearing none, we will now open up the public hearing on the Commissioner's Resolution 2302 CL04 for the new paint in Commissioner Slaughter's office.
I thought he used old paint.
Seeing no questions, we will close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure on Resolution 2302 CL04?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to move, but since I have a conflict of interest, I'll recuse myself.
Mr. Chairman, I will make the motion since I've been traveling.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Toman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thank you, Bonnie. Appreciate it. Next up, Commissioners, is tab B. We have two public hearings this morning. First one being a request to approve Resolution 2302 Z001 of Tesoro Logistics Northwest Pipeline LLC. It's the final plat, Granger Station subdivision. Nicole Jensen is the applicant. So at this time, we'll hand it over to Megan to give us a quick briefing on it. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. We'll just get right into it. This is a minor subdivision, Granger Station subdivision, just located a little bit over a mile southwest of the town of Granger. The reason why we're even going through the subdivision process is to correct a illegal subdivision that took place in around 2004, right after all the major subdivision statute changes came into play. So this is just following things up there so that they can apply for a building permit to get some of their equipment on site, rehabbed and up and operating, hopefully as quickly as possible. The property owner is Tesoro Logistics Northwest Pipeline LLC. Nicole Jensen is the applicant on behalf of them. The property is roughly 29.57 acres. The current address is 233 Old Little America Road. Current zoning is I2, so heavy industrial. There is private access from Old Little America Road to the north boundary of the subdivision through discussions and a learning process back and forth. We've come to the conclusion that this is a pertinent easement, basically running with the land since previous companies gained title to it initially. They do have a well water permit, septic permit, and Bridger Valley is also services electricity to the property. As you can see, not quite in the middle of nowhere, but is over on the west side of the state. Again, all the existing infrastructure exists out there. We're basically just reconfiguring property lines to get things cleared up so they can move forward with a building permit. You see before you the final plat that was submitted. There is going to be private access within the subdivision. Lot 1 is the majority, and lot 2 is the little tiny square lot right in here. That private access in the hatched area is accessing through across lot number 1. We've posted public notice. Mr. Jim Zimmerman went out and posted that. Plenty of snow over there with, I'm sure, a little bit more to come today. When we sent this out for public and agency comments, the only comment received was from the town of Granger, and they have no comments there. There was about 14 comments that needed to be addressed that was compiled in the land use department. All of these have been addressed in between the planning and zoning commission meeting 2 weeks ago and the meeting today. So Don't want to beat a dead horse with that. A lot of it was just clean up so that the Mylar could be read and copied and make sure we had all the requirements per statutes and things on there. Also clarifying the access and noting that with a book and page. So people after us will not have the same questions that originally arose throughout this process. And planning and zoning and staff recommendations on February 8th, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to approve the Granger Station final plat 3-0. Again, they had all 14 conditions on there. Since then, all these conditions have been met. So staff requests that the approval for the resolution today is just to approve the final plat as presented. We have gotten all the required signatures that need to be on there, and it's just awaiting chairman's signature today. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Megan. Questions, commissioners?
It's evidently county property, not city of Granger, right? It's not in the city limits of Granger.
Commissioner or Chairman West, the subdivision itself is about a little bit over a mile southwest of the town of Granger, so it resides within the county. The town of Granger does not need to sign off on the plat because it's over the 1 mile buffer of that, and so it's within the county, but the county does not have any land in the subdivision, nor does the access road from County Road 2 to the subdivision. All of that is private.
How many residences would be in that subdivision?
Since this is a heavy industrial subdivision, nobody actually lives out there to my knowledge.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Hearing none, we will open up a public hearing for the request to approve resolution 2302-001, the Granger Station final plat. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of this? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards,
I'd move that we approve resolution 2302-001 as presented.
have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Next up, under the public hearing for planning and zoning section under tab B is a request to approve resolution 2302-002, a variance for stockpile of concrete in a residential district in accordance with section 5.F of the 2015 zoning resolution requested by Matthew Jackman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the property owner is Lynn Jackman and the applicant is Matthew Jackman, Jackman Construction. It's a 110 acre tract within the southwest quarter, section 28 township, 20 north, range 105 west. Current zoning is R2. It's located within the growth management area. As far as infrastructure goes, Fire District 1 is a fire response, and then it is within the 10-mile water and sewer district. Here's a location of the property. So it's a little bit to the east of Yellowstone Road, almost up to right across from Boar's Test subdivision. The property is vacant, or I should say is undeveloped right now. And there you can see the zoning is R2. The adjacent properties, you have some Bureau of Land Management, residential zoning to the east, R2SF, which is residential single family. And then you've got some rural residential to the north. And to the west, you've got commercial, some CRS that's undeveloped. And then you have some commercial zoning also, which is a veterinarian clinic just located to the east of that, west of that. So the reason why we're here today is to address a zoning violation that occurred last year. The applicant is requesting a variance application, just as you stated, Mr. Chairman, section 4F. And it's for the stockpiling of concrete in a residential zone district, which is not allowed. The current zoning is undeveloped, just as I previously stated. The applicant would like to crush the existing stockpiles of concrete to prepare for a future subdivision development, residential, which you'll see in the upcoming slides here. The applicant has included two different layouts for a potential future residential subdivision. I would like to note that the applicant has not formally submitted a subdivision application to the Land Use Department. Staff was made aware of the stockpiles when complaints had been received to our office regarding dust and noise created by haul trucks dumping concrete on the property owned by Lynn Jackman. The applicant was notified and agreed to submit the proper permits to potentially allow the continued use of stockpiles of concrete. This is what the applicant submitted as far as a proposed residential subdivision, which would be a major subdivision. And there again is the aerial photography. And this shows you it was properly posted as required by statute. And then you have the surrounding, which you can see Yellowstone Road. And then there's the actual up close pictures of all the concrete that has been dumped on the site. So we have three criteria for variances that we have to keep in mind. There's special circumstances fully described in the commission and board findings, which are peculiar to the land for which the variance is sought and do not apply generally to the building, lands, or buildings in the neighborhood, and have not resulted from an act of the applicant subsequent to the adoption of the zoning resolution. So as far as peculiar, usually an R2 property is 1 to 2 acres in size. So I would say the land space is large for an R2 zoning, but again, it's undeveloped at this time. And then also, although the larger size is larger than typical lots in Sweetwater County, the property is still zoned residential and does not allow this type of use. So the stockpiling of concrete is usually allowed in a light industrial or heavy industrial zone district. And just to back up so the one criteria, the applicant placed the broken up concrete prior to obtaining any permits as required by section 4B4. Therefore, the variance being sought of the act, an applicant does not meet 4F1. Number 2. So are there circumstances or conditions such that strict application of the provisions of the zoning resolution would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of land, and the granting is necessary, the reasonable use and thereof, and the adjustment is granted as the minimum adjustment. So is it the minimum adjustment that can be done? So we discussed this with the Planning and Zoning Commission. One concern that we had and the staff brought up, and then we discussed with them, was to not bring additional material on the site. So what we're specifically talking about is what has been brought on this last year, or 2022, excuse me. Again, reasonable use of the property would be residential. And if the variance approved, adjustment should be the minimum. And so that, again, so that the applicant will not be allowed to bring additional material or additional stockpiling on the site. And then number 3, the granting of the variance is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning resolution and will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. So the appropriate use is residential. As to the existing zoning designation, the complaints originally received by the department were related to the truck hauling and bringing of the material. As of this date, staff has not received any negative comments written, although we did hear from an adjacent property owner at the Planning and Zoning Commission in January of his concerns of the material staying out there for a long period of time. Staff would recommend a time limit. Rocky Mountain Power, and as you can see, I've provided all the comments. They had no issues, nor did Colorado Interstate Gas. The Public Works Director had concerns of access issues as far as easements crossing. As you go back in the slides here, note that the property is back from Yellowstone Road, so there were concerns of whether there's proper access easements crossing from Yellowstone to the property. which I believe the applicant is pursuing. So let's talk about the Planning and Zoning Commission. So on January 11th, 2023, they voted 4-1 to table a request due to needing more information provided by the applicant to make a decision. So we tabled it, we untabled it the February 8th, 2023, and the Planning and Zoning voted 3-0. So you had your majority vote, Mr. Chairman, to approve the variance for specific time periods, 90 days, and the material must be removed in that time frame. So before you, you have the resolution with the conditions set by the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Any questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, too, the applicant is here.
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Commissioner Slaughter.
Mr. Jackman, just in looking at the staff recommendations, you're given 90 days to move this. Does that fit in with your time schedule? Okay. Yes, come on, please.
Come on up now. Morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me. We've moved an excavator out there to get everything removed. The piles are pretty froze. It'll be tough to get 90 days. I'm hoping by March 15th, with warmer weather, hopefully, that we'll be able to track. It'll take us, we figure we can get 8 loads a day. There's 225-ish loads. So 30 days if we're working, around the clock, 7 days a week type thing. But I think we can do it. It might be tough. I'd like to get it done. We've got other projects starting March 25th. We're breaking ground on a couple out of town. So we'd like to get in, get it rolling, get it done. We're not going to start this week. It'll be tough, but everything's froze. But yeah, we'll oblige. I think it'll be just best for everybody. Get it off of there and move on and have it crushed off site. So
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Matt. Any other questions for the applicant, commissioners? Commissioner Shanefield?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if this is for the applicant or for Jean or Eric, but I just wanted to ensure that it was safe with easements and everything else. Now that we're requiring it to be removed, that it's been already placed on the property, but I just wanted to make sure with the Jean's concerns that everything was taken care of when it came to that.
Probably Matt's going to be the best one to answer that. We have not received any documentation that there's been easements recorded.
Tim Self was the property owner. We've had it. There was an easement that was there since the 70s. We've got it filed, but he wants us to move. If you look where he's got his 4 10-acre lots, he has kind of a cul-de-sac. And he'd rather, if he's going to grant a new easement, that it be through the center of those 4 lots. And then he's got water line and road access. But right now, the road we've been using, he's 100% happy with. There's an easement there that would be removed. We'd get rid of that easement and get the one between the 4 lots down the middle. So if that makes sense. Yep. And I was waiting for this meeting. It's all drawn up, ready to go, just waiting on his signature. So, and then it'll get filed. So.
Any other questions, commissioners? Doesn't look like it. Thanks, Matt. Do you have anything else you wanted to?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. With no other questions, we will open up the public hearing for resolution 2302-002, the variance for stockpile of concrete in a residential district. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to this public hearing? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure on resolution 2302-002?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I'd move to approve recommendation 2302-002.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Eric, Megan, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next on the agenda, commissioners, is county resident comments and concerns. At this time would be appropriate if there's anyone that would like to address the governing body on any issue whatsoever. Now is your time. Morning, Gene.
Morning. This isn't a comment or concern, more of a PSA. With the impending storm, just kind of want to go over everybody what our snow plan route is and what we'll do. We have 7 total plows. 3 will actually head over to Jamestown, Rio Vista and the mines, get those cleared. 1 will head down to McKinnon because 530 and County Road 1 are bus routes. So we'll have to get the McKinnon area and everything cleaned. The other 3 will head north of Rock Springs, get that cleaned up, and Reliance. I want the public to know that we only do arterial streets. If we're going to get 6 to 12 inches therein, it's hard to believe, but that the weather forecast is predicting at 88% certainty that we'll get at least 6. So we'll do the arterial streets. And if you looked out north of Rock Springs, that's the fire lanes in Yellowstone. The reason we do that is because if we don't get those cleared and we release everybody from the neighborhoods on those streets, we're just going to have a mess. They will be working until 10:30 tonight, or until they can't see. And then they'll come back in between 4 and 5 tomorrow, depending on when they head out, to get everything cleared off. That's again, our plow drivers' safety is the most important thing. If they can't see, the wind's blowing too hard and they just can't plow and it's worthless, we're not going to plow. We're not going to send them out there because even with the lights and stuff like that, I think, don't have any wood. We fortunately haven't had any plows hit in the last 4 years. YDOT has had, I think, 14 hit this year already. So it's just one of those things where we want our plow drivers to be safe, but that's just a PSA with everybody. I know, school districts, everybody's on high alert. We really don't know what's going to get here until it gets here because of it's Wyoming.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make that aware of everybody. So any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
Thank you. Jean, thanks for the update. And I actually was gonna ask what the process was for potential for closing any county facilities as well. That was asked of me and I don't remember because it's been a really long time since we've had to do that. So
So what'll happen is I'll be over here at 5, making sure everything's cleared. We will try to keep it open and do that. It is your guys' call. So what I will do is I will probably get with Keaton and say, yeah, everything's plowed out. It's not. The other thing that we need to take into consideration is are there travel bans within the cities,
yeah.
Stuff like that. Don't know that until it shows up. So I will be communicating with Chairman West and making sure that, yeah, we're ready to go. Everybody's on standby. We will have custodians here past their normal time. They usually quit. They work a 3 to 11:30 a.m. shift. They will be on call until 5:30 tonight and then 7:30 over at the detention center to make sure all that's clean because that's when the public is opened up. But then, we have plenty of equipment and stuff like that out at the detention center, justice center. Here, there's a lot of shoveling to do. So we'll bring in extra people and go from there.
Thank you. I appreciate that update.
But yeah, it's a board action to close the buildings. So, or make sure that we communicate and figure out if we need to or not.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richards.
Gene, will these plows be going 90 miles an hour?
Yeah, if I could get a plow the 90 miles an hour, that'd be awesome. But, considering they weigh 57,000 pounds loaded, it's tough. But if we do, that's a new thing maybe we can patent and we can go to a warmer climate where there isn't going to be 6-12 inch snow with 80-mile-an-hour winds.
Any other questions, commissioners? Thanks, Gene.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate the update. Look forward to talking to you at 5 a.m. Any other county resident comments or concerns?
I believe you said 4:30 a.m.
Mr. Chairman, one other comment from the peanut gallery, your GPS is wrong. I'm just gonna say that. The roads are closed.
Mm.
We have 9-foot drifts, 5 miles off the interstate over there. So,
Yeah, for the public, that was Gene informing that the GPSs are not accurate. A lot of those county roads off the interstate are in fact closed. So we don't want to get into that situation again like we did about a month ago. So pay attention out there. Any other county resident comments or concerns? Academy, now is your time for that speech. No takers. All right, we will close county resident comments and concerns and move on to tab C. We've got the consent agenda, commissioners. I would like to remove the minutes from here. There's a couple corrections that need made, so I would entertain a motion to remove the minutes off the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda without the minutes.
Motion to remove the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards, original motion by Commissioner Shanefield. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, with that, we will present the consent agenda. You've got the approval of county vouchers, warrants, and EALs, which, by the way, a little fun fact for you, expenditure approval listing. I'd like to think I wasn't the only one that didn't know what that was, so you're welcome. Number 3 is the approval of bonds, approval of abates, rebates, approval of monthly reports, approval of hospital maintenance expenditures, request to restaff an equipment operator position, and a request to restaff 2 for food service worker positions. Any questions on the consent agenda, commissioners? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Shanefield. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Going back to the approval of the minutes from the February 7th, 2023 meeting. Had a couple changes I wanted to make. On page 6, under my commissioner comments, I had asked that the clerk's office upload the budget instead of the audit, which has been done. So I appreciate that. And then to reach out to Kurt Meyer, it's just a misspelling of his name. On that same page, down at the executive session headline, we entered for personnel. It states real estate, legal, and personnel. So if we could just change that to personnel. And then over on page 8, and I can get you all these, Sally, I wrote them down. Liaison follow-up discussion. It states that we appointed Roy Lloyd. It was just commented that we overlooked, or at least I overlooked, that Commissioner Lloyd was already serving on that tripartite term. So I just wanted to correct that. And there is, at the end of that meeting, we also went into an executive for legal, pre-decisional, and personnel. So on that heading, if we could add personnel, and then within the description, personnel is misspelled. Does anyone else have any corrections on the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Commissioner Slaughter.
on page 6, under the proposal for limited overnight use of appropriate county parks, the name for Cub Master is listed as Matt Russian. It is actually Matt Rushing, ING. So if we could make that correction. And then also, I don't believe that this section accurately depicts my comments with respect to this proposal. I think if you review, I was very adamant that we, as the Board of County Commissioners, try to find a way to say yes to this type of action. And it's not reflected in this, that I made any comments with respect to that at all. I believe that I stated that I would much rather that we try and find a way to say yes rather than saying no on these issues. I'd like to see that reflected. I think then it's, the rest of it is accurate. I believe that Commissioner Richards asked that I, as the liaison to our Public Works Department, work to try and come up with a way to resolve this issue. And just to let you know, we are working on that. We have had a meeting. We will have another meeting tomorrow with respect to that.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any other changes, commissioners? And we'll get this to Sally to help her out with all of that. But with those changes, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 7th, 2023.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I'd move that we approve the minutes as amended.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up is Commissioner comments. And it looks like Commissioner Shanefield is up first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. SEDC had a meeting about 2 weeks ago. They are getting prepared for updating 2023 strategic plan. They also have 3 new members, and so they are also getting ready to do a board member orientation, go over roles and responsibilities and things like that. So very exciting. The museum board also had a meeting last week. On Wednesday, They have a YouTube video that is featuring Ed Farley talking about the lost town of Bitter Creek. So that's pretty exciting coming up. They are also working on a quilted self-portrait display that's going to be displayed during March and April. And that's in partnership with the Sweetwater County Quilt Guild. They've also been visiting these school classrooms and presenting virtual classes. They're also offering traveling education kits across the county. Dick Blust is also working on continuing on his firearms research program that's been very popular. And they're working on publishing a 3rd grade textbook on local Sweetwater County history in partnership with our school districts here. And they are also working on preparing an annual 3rd grade history fair, which will be held May 9th through the 12th at the museum and in nearby Green River Park. So they are super busy and always looking for ways to reach out in the community. I will be headed to Cheyenne next week. I have been engaged with our legislators as well as the County Commissioners Association. And so if there's anything questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any questions for Commissioner Shanefield? If not, Commissioner Toman, you're up next.
Could I ask Lauren a question first?
No, I already asked. You said no. Go ahead,
You're sure
Commissioner
getting
Toman.
wild in your old age. Anyway, Lauren, on broadband, they were saying what, $65 billion is coming to broadband. Are you still a chairman of the broadband group?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Toman, that's kind of up for debate right now. I had requested to take a step back from the chairman position on broadband. However, a lot of the questions, because of my role at the governor's office, however, a lot of the questions and the work is still coming through me and to me. And so I'm kind of just holding in that position for right now. I'm very active in the conversations. Albert Summers, Representative Summers has been very active as well, along with Rob Krieger from the governor's office and the business council. So there's still a lot of conversation going on. They did have an open house reception during legislative session. I wasn't able to make it because it was when I wasn't down there, but there's a lot of activity going on right now. So I can keep you up to date as I hear more things.
Okay, I just heard a lot at NACO and I didn't know how it all
Yep.
connected.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, for my report, I attended liaison meetings with Jamie Laredo Vasquez, our new director of the Young at Heart Senior Center. The Early Learning Childhood Center has a waiting list of over 40 young children, so that's exciting news, and they seem to be doing well. I know the new director is studying hard to get up to speed on everything that she has to know for running that center. I attended an airport board meeting via Zoom from the DC airport. They're still pursuing the 3.1 million ARPA SLIB, the State Land Investment Board grant through the city of Rock Springs to help with the construction of the new terminal. They're also looking into planning for the water and wastewater sewer system, a $39 million project. On 17th, I attended a coalition of local governments meeting with our 6 county conservation districts from southwestern Wyoming and 3 counties. Lincoln County has rejoined, so we have 3 county commissions. We discussed all of our ongoing federal plans and projects in this area with our legal staff. And we discussed the Rocky Mountain Power Public Service request to convert 2 coal units at Bridger to gas. And then we talk about the Endangered Species Act updates, the sage grouse updates, all the oil and gas leasing. So we have an agenda of about 20 items that we discuss every month with our coalition members and our legal team. And then comments are written for the administrative record to be legally defensible and scientifically credible for the record as to what we as counties believe about these different federal initiatives. We have had great interest from Hageman's staff. Trinity Lewis has been joining on 2 of our calls. She said it's a great training ground to get up to speed real fast on all the issues in Southwest Wyoming that deal with the federal and public lands. There will be a solar programmatic EIS coming out, so that will be another. They've already had one meeting, I believe. Did you say you attended that one, Eric? It was a Zoom meeting. And there was a lot of input from California, from what Eric has told me. It's a west-wide type of programmatic EIS, so that one's gonna be kind of crazy. They want our power, but they want it on their terms. I kind of take it. Okay, on the 9th of February, I met with Adam George of the Bureau of Land Management, administrative staff regarding input on the Wyoming Landscape Conservation Initiative. I've been an executive committee member or alternate on that since inception. We had to fight to have a local voice on that project. We've done millions of dollars worth of on the ground projects for habitat for wildlife in Southwest Wyoming, but the funding is dwindling coming through the BLM. We still have a 6-member coordinating team that meets to help design projects and get them funded, write grants, help partner. And we don't want to lose that program. So I talked to the congressional staff when I was in DC about getting the funding. It was created by the Wyoming BLM director and the Game and Fish director 17, 18 years ago, because they saw the impacts on the landscape due to mineral development, coal mining, oil and gas. And so they wanted to offset it with enhancing the habitats, the watersheds, the aspens, all of those types of projects have been completed over those last years. But if we lose that initiative, well, we've already lost the initiative, but we have to find a way to keep it going, keep it funded, and keep working in Southwest Wyoming. So that's been a big focus of some of my energy. We will be having a meeting in March with that executive team to decide how we can go forward. I was very disappointed. The BLM turned back $1 million last year because they couldn't find an entity to accept the money. Any of our counties could have accepted that money and held it for them as a grant. So I did give the BLM a strong opinion about that. I don't want money to go back when it could have been used here and we had projects ready to go. So that was what I was stressing on that. Okay, then I did attend the National Association of County Officials in DC, February 10th to 16th. Former Commissioner Bausman from Sublette County helped me get appointed to the Public Lands Council 2 years ago. And we cover, again, as our coalition did, we cover all of the Western issues, the Endangered Species Act, sage grouse, oil and gas development, all of the issues that affect the West. And they also formed a Western Interstate region of that NACO to deal with specifically Western issues, and they meet twice a year. We're meeting in St. George, Utah, May 17th to 19th. And it would be great if some of our commissioners could attend. We've had fellow commissioners from Sublette County, Carbon County, Washakie County have been very active for 6-7 years, which has made a big influence and impact on this Western region and all of our issues. And some of our members have even tried to get onto some of the other committees, like Energy and Environment is combined into one committee. And it's a very frustrating committee to be on because you have a lot of the people from California who think that they ought to be passing resolutions to stop wasting food, you know. So, I mean, really, I think those two committees, and that's going to be my recommendation as a resolution, that those two committees be split so that energy gets the proper attention that it needs to from environmental types of issues. So the one from Washakie County and Dave North from Casper, they volunteered to get on that committee to try to provide some Western perspective in that group. But as in any group, you have some groups of people who speak louder and demand to be heard more than the others. So we're trying to balance some of those committees. So that's the importance of our involvement as a Western state is to be there, but also to try to make sure that our issues are heard and understood. And it takes money, it takes time, but I think it's really important. Oh, because of Commissioner Bausman, he is now retired, didn't rerun for commission, but there were a lot of, I think there were 4 or 5 resolutions on forest restoration, resilience. So he was able to get several resolutions in. Then they have a full-time lobbyist, Jonathan Sheffield, who goes to Congress and lobbies on our behalf. And one of the issues that they lobby on our behalf is supporting rural airports. And I copied that position paper and sent it to Devin at the airport. And so they lobby on all sorts of issues, broadband and Waters of the USA, Endangered Species Act. We heard from the BLM director. We also heard from President Biden, and I was quite amazed. He actually was quite, saw us as one of his support groups, I guess. He said he started out as a commissioner. And the greatest takeaway from that, well, other than the fact that we got a lot of money, whether we agree with how we got it and who's going to pay the bill later, but he did insist that a lot of that money come directly to the county, so it didn't get funneled through the states and you have to fight to get it. So that was one a benefit. He said his goal is to have broadband in every household in America, and it's 65 billion, I believe. Is that the right number? Is a new initiative for broadband. Well, I hope it's just 65 billion and not trillion. I'm not positive of that number, but they're sending to each broadband council in each state. They're going to give them 5,000 to plan for how they're going to make broadband in every household in their state, and then another 100,000 will come to each state to do the kind of ground truthing, to find the areas where there is not broadband, so they can kind of get a map of where they need to fill the gaps and to work with the broadband providers. So he stressed that. He talked about that quite a bit. I also talked with Senator Lummis and Senator Brasso, and I took several issues to them. One was a WLCI Healthy Lands funding. And I told them we want the original appropriation, not the one that got diluted and everybody in the world competed for, but we'll see how that goes. It's too bad we have all of this money coming to our federal agencies, the Rescue America, America the Beautiful, but a lot of these federal agencies don't have the staff to implement projects. And we do have opportunities to work with counties and conservation districts to get these projects on the ground. So what I asked them, is there any way you can redirect some of that funding through entities like WLCI that are up and running and ready to go and have projects that they can assist the federal agencies get the projects implemented on the ground. I shared our emergency winter condition declaration with them, and it may get more of an emergency as it goes on. I don't know. It's starting to look kind of scary. Also, I talked to them about Department of Transportation now makes it imperative that if anyone, a private operator wants a commercial driver's license, they're almost forced to pay a $4,000 class to get that license, and that's not right. So I also talked to the Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration, and they said they are looking at options for small operators to be able to get that license without having to have such an expense. Out of the box thinking with Mr. Zimmerman was that I didn't think it was fair that we pay for all these accidents on the interstate that go through our county. Almost 200 accidents that our ambulance and our fire departments have to go tend to, and Carbon County lost a driver, EMS person and an ambulance on the interstate. So I don't know, they're throwing money all over. I don't know if there's any way that they'd ever reimburse us for almost $1 million, but I thought it was something that needed to be brought to the congressional people's attention. The fact that if you have an interstate going through your county, you're going to have big expenses dealing with the accidents that happen on those roads. So again, I would encourage my fellow commissioners to attend Western Interstate Region in St. George, May 17th to 19th. And then Clerk Lane, did you, I heard from the Farson group that they had a special meeting of letting them know about special districts training requirements. Were you able to find any more? Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
On this phone. Chairman, commissioners, I just got off the phone with Mr. Haslam in Fremont County, who handled the training that was done in Farson. This is House Bill 60 that was passed last year, and it pertains to examination of books of state institution agencies and certain districts and entities, independent audit. So it's statute 9-1-507. It looks like it's in charge of the state auditor, puts on the training, and they were charged with coming up with the proper materials. It is online at Wyoming Association of Special Districts is their training. But as I was reading this statute, I'm going to look into it further because it mentions all public officers. So I will be calling the Department of Audit this afternoon to find out what the expectations are, and I will let you all know if there's other training, because it doesn't just mention special districts. So
So we all may be taking
some
training.
training.
It's an
I-
independent group that was formed to help provide training. It was created by Bobby Frank through the Wyoming Association of Conservation Districts. They created a Wyoming Association of Special Districts, and then the special districts like conservation districts, septic districts, whatever, can pay into the dues of this association. They have developed an online training program in modules, like one might be on the open meetings law, one might be on whatever issues. You can go to the website and you can click on your specific named special district, and it will tell you which modules must be completed. You must print out a certificate of completion and provide it to the auditor. And if you don't do that as an elected official to these special districts, then you are to be replaced.
And that
It's
is why I
what
will
they
check
told me from
because
Farson.
it does say it's an act relating to the minimum fiscal procedures training for public officers. It doesn't mention special districts, but this gentleman is in charge of special districts oversight of it. So that's why he was in Farson doing that training. So I will look into this and let us know further.
We appreciate it, and I'm sorry I gave you 5 minutes notice to
It's okay,
help
we
find
got
more
it.
information.
We got it. All right, thank you.
There is a need for newly elected people in the small districts to have an opportunity to learn what their legal obligations are to represent those districts. So, Mr. Chairman, sorry it was so long, but appreciate the time.
Thanks for the report, Commissioner. Thanks for your work in DC. Did you bring us any souvenirs back by
Oh,
chance?
I did
or-
bring you souvenirs.
Interesting.
Um,
Spent our whole travel budget.
what
Any
is-
questions for Commissioner Tillman?
Yes, you have the WIR conference. They're in your
More meetings, you mean?
the outreach toolkit for counties, federal policy priorities of the National Association of County Officials. It covers everything. They focus on mental health issues. They focus on broadband, and Wyoming is one of the few states that all of our counties belong to this association because our dues to Wyoming County Commissioner Association, they take those dues and pay in to make Wyoming fully every county belongs to this. And every person, employee, or department or elected official in the county, and I know the sheriff, he attends these meetings as well. They are welcome to attend these meetings. They are welcome to go to the website, and there are all kinds of position papers, and they have lobbyists that help us lobby for the issues that affect us. So federal policy priorities are in that book, and the other one is overview of U.S. Treasury, final rule for ARPA fiscal recovery funds for counties. I just go to Christina Marshall, but anyway, if you really are ambitious, you can read more. Thank you.
I opened up a can of worms there, didn't I? Any questions for Commissioner Tillman?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards?
Commissioner Tillman, what is the status of the terminal construction project at the airport? I've been hearing horror stories.
They go into executive session, so you know as much as I do based on the executive session update that we received from Devin Brubaker. They are working through it, is all I can tell you. I don't know. It's been delayed. The terminal won't be completed at least until 2024. And anytime you want an update, I guess we could ask for an executive session with the airport board or director. That's all I can say right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Slaughter, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After listening to Commissioner Tolman, I have got to step it up a little bit, I think. I thought I had been really busy, but apparently I have not. On the 8th, I did a presentation for the Kiwanis Club in Rock Springs. It was very good, enjoyed it. On the 13th, I did a tripartite orientation with Daniel Pedri, who is new Rock Springs City Councilman. Christina Marshall was kind enough to help us learn a little bit more about what the tripartite board is and what it does. Following that orientation, I participated in my first tripartite meeting. It was very enlightening. I think it will be a very very good board to work with. I think it will, a lot of good feelings will come from the actions from that board. On the 14th, I worked on my office all day. It was kind of nice. I actually came into the courthouse to spend Monday. It was the first time that I wasn't attacked by 5 or 6 different zealous employees of the county to talk to me about different issues, or the chairman who wants to talk about issues. So I got quite a few things set up in my office. It was good to do that. On the 15th, we had a discussion on our campground issue from the last meeting. I met with Gene Legursky, John De Leon, and Commissioner Richards, and we are formulating a resolution that will hopefully help us deal with the overnight camping issue. On the 16th, I got a call from hospital CEO Irene Richardson. Had a really good conversation for about an hour and a half with her. We talked about some issues with respect to Title 25. She's very excited in looking at some of the issues that have gone on with the new robot that the hospital is looking at. She has found some additional information and been given some guidance on potentially getting the hospital accredited as a critical assessment, having a critical assessment designation, which would benefit the hospital potentially to the tune of up to $9 to $15 million a year. So we will be hearing a lot more of that as the hospital board meets, and I will keep you apprised as we hear more about that. She had several comments with respect to our county commission interaction and how the hospital and the county commission interact, along with, once again, asserting that she would like to do an orientation for the new commissioners at the hospital. I met with Public Works Director Legursky a couple different times on issues with respect to what's going on with our county roads with these storms that we've had going on, along with, once again, the BSA and campground issue. I have a hospital building and grounds meeting this afternoon. I'm meeting with the CDC board tonight, and I've set up several meetings for the next 2 weeks. So other than that, Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else, but I would stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any questions for Commissioner Slaughter?
He's doing all right. It's not a competition.
You set a high bar.
Okay, well, it looks like I'm up next. Yeah, I can't compete with Commissioner Tillman's report, but I haven't had any liaison meetings since our last meeting a couple weeks ago as far as component units or outside agencies go. I did attend the Mayor and Commissioners meeting, which is hosted by the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce. As many of you know, that involves both the mayors of Rock Springs, Green River, the commission chair, the Rock Springs board chair, and then their CEO, and the Green River City Administrator attends as well. We discussed a few bills of interest that are down at the legislature and a little bit on the specific purpose tax MOU that we'll be voting on today. Other than that, everyone is still just pretty much getting their feet wet with their respective offices. Been spending time meeting with a few of our department heads and elected officials, trying to become more familiar with some of the ins and outs of their day-to-days. I appreciate the good conversations I've had over the last couple of weeks. Very time consuming, as Commissioner Slaughter alluded to. They're great conversations, but sometimes it's hard to get away once you get into the fascinating nature of county business. But I appreciate those chats with Christina Marshall, Gary McLean, Jim Zimmerman, Gene Legursky, Mark Cowan, and Dave Davis. Still honestly trying to figure out whose office is where within this facility and becoming oriented. Every day is a new learning experience here, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. I attended a Zoom meeting last Friday with the Wyoming County Commissioners Association to get an update from Jeremiah on where the bills are at that they're all tracking as far as the association goes. Not a whole lot to report on that. Many of those are hitting the governor's desk this week, in particular the budget bill. So there should be more to come on that in the next few days or weeks to come. But outside of that, I've been working on some recruitment efforts for the Southwest Counseling Board and trying to become more familiar with their operation given its complexity. I have my Board of Health and Southwest Counseling liaison meetings tomorrow, which both make for a busy day, that infamous 7 a.m. one that none of you wanted. So I'll look forward to talking to Gene at 5 and then hitting Board of Health at 7. I should have more to report for you on those with respect to that next meeting. And that's all I have. Be happy to answer any questions as long as they're easy.
Are you having fun yet?
I am having fun. It's a very interesting experience. Thanks, commissioners. Looks like Commissioner Richards is bringing up the tail end there.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. In contrast with my extensive report at the last meeting, which apparently warranted its very own newspaper article on the front page, my report this week should be considerably shorter. On February 8th, I attended the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where they discussed the same resolutions that we also addressed in our hearings this morning. In addition, they'll be having a workshop at their next scheduled meeting to begin the process of addressing some outdated language in their bylaws and clean up some language in the zoning resolution. On February 11th, I attended a fundraiser in Laramie for the University of Wyoming rodeo team. Several of our local Sweetwater County legislators were there, as well as several other members of our community. I'd say Sweetwater County was well represented at a great event that raises money for a great team of young athletes that also includes a couple of young ladies from Sweetwater. On February 15th, I met with Commissioner Slaughter, as well as our Public Works Director, as Rob already talked about, to begin discussions on a proposed policy change to allow limited overnight stays in select county parks. I'm happy with the progress we're making on that front, and I look forward to when Commissioner Slaughter can present it to the rest of the commission. On February 17th, I attended my first meeting as a member of the Sweetwater County Outdoor Recreation Coalition, which basically turned into a meeting where they just gave me an orientation. I think me and Eric were the only non-staff members there, but it's an interesting organization that's working hard to do a lot of things for Southwest Wyoming and Sweetwater County. As for upcoming meetings, I'll be attending tonight's library board meeting, and that will be at 6 p.m. over at the Rock Springs Library. Tomorrow, I'll be meeting with Commissioner Slaughter and some community stakeholders about the camping in county parks. On Thursday, I'll be meeting with representatives from Jenner to receive an update on their Project West. On the 27th, I'll be attending the Combined Communications Board meeting, and on the 28th, I'll be attending the Fair Board meeting. Finally, I'd also like to give an update on the 10-mile Water and Sewer District. As of February 9th, they have submitted everything necessary to be considered in compliance with the Department of Audit. However, it seems the Department of Audit would like some kind of statement from us on how we plan to move forward on the dissolution of the district. It's a strange position on their part because historically, once a district gets their reports current, they usually back off, but they seem to have decided not to deem them as compliant without hearing from us first, despite the fact there was at least one other district that was in the same position that they haven't taken the same position on. It's kind of turned into a circular logic trap. As a result of that, Treasurer Cowan is withholding tax distributions from them while he also waits for similar guidance. So what I'm hoping for is to get some approval from the commission on how to resolve it. And I would propose that we do two things. Number one, write a letter to the Department of Audit that states that we consider 10-mile Water and Sewer District compliant, and that our plan is to take no further action in regards to the dissolution of the district, and authorize our chairman to sign it. I've taken the liberty to draft one. I've distributed copies to you. It should have been in your S tab. And two, to communicate to Treasurer Cowan that we believe 10-mile Water and Sewer District is currently in compliance and that he may release any withheld funds to the district. So if there aren't any objections, I'd like to make a motion that we do those two things, and hopefully we can put this behind us.
Commissioners, we do have a motion to approve a letter provided by Commissioner Richards to the, Wyoming Department of Audit, authorizing the chairman to sign in relation to the 10-mile Water and Sewer District's dissolution status.
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Slaughter. Original motion by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you. That's all I have for you today, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate your work on that 10-mile follow-up. Any questions for Commissioner Richards? All right, very good. Nice work, commissioners. And that will take us to the action and presentation items section of the agenda. And up first here, we have tab D, Janessa Meredith with the Sweetwater County Travel and Tourism 2022 Annual Report. Morning, Janessa.
Good morning, commissioners. It's ready to go. Oh, great. Yay. Good morning. I'm Janessa Meredith. I'm the CEO of Sweetwater County Travel and Tourism. Thank you for allowing me some time today to share with you our 2022 annual report. This is how the lodging tax was spent in 2022. And you have the report in the yellow bag that I left with you. So we'll review that quickly today. As you know, the Lodging Tax Board is made up of 11 volunteer board members. 6 are appointed from the city of Rock Springs, 2 come from the city of Green River, 1 from Wamsutter, 1 from Superior, and 1 from the County Commission. The entire mission of the Lodging Tax Boards is to enhance the economy of Sweetwater County by attracting and retaining visitors. So heads in beds is kind of the easy way to think about that. We can't build an attraction. We can't build a zip line park or a theme park of any kind like that. It has to be spent on marketing to generate visitation to our hotels and campgrounds. You can see there on page 2, the lodging tax, as you know, was on the ballot this last general election. The lodging tax has been on the general election ballot every 4 years since 1991 in Sweetwater County. I have been through 4 elections. We range in support from about 78% to 82% for the local lodging tax. So local residents really understand how the lodging tax is utilized. You can see there on page 2 as well, we moved into the visitor center on Elk Street in 2020. Historically, we had been in an office building downtown in the Coyote Creek building. We moved into that building on Elk Street as an opportunity to slow down those travelers that are heading to the national parks of Wyoming, be able to share our information, make sure they know everything to see and do in Sweetwater County, and to get them to stay longer while they're here. The lodging tax collection there on page 3. You can see how the lodging tax has come in over the years. The rate has changed, but the last fiscal year, 21-22, it collected almost $1.3 million. The budget breakdown, that pie chart, you can see 79% we spent on a traditional marketing campaign as mandated by state statute. 7% was spent on event grants in the county, 3% on the Chamber of Commerce block grants, 4% on the events complex block grant, and then 7% on administration. So we work closely with the events complex and with the chambers of commerce. The chambers of commerce obviously provide visitor services and distribute brochures for us. And then the events complex, we work with them to help with out of county marketing and help them to recruit events to our area. On page 4 there, that's the list of events that we funded over the last fiscal year. So any event that's hosted by a nonprofit entity that generates hotel and campground occupancy qualifies for lodging tax funding. Those grant applications are considered quarterly and can be up to $6,000 per event based on overnight attendance. Also on page 4, not only do we fund events that are already being hosted in the county, we work to recruit events as well. We most recently recruited the state high school 4A and 3A boys and girls soccer tournament that will be hosted here in Sweetwater County in 23 and again in 24. This was a combined effort between Rock Springs and Green River. No community alone could have hosted it. We're lucky that the high schools are able to work together, and collectively we have enough fields to host that event. And the economic impact from that soccer tournament in 23 and 24 combined is about $6 million to the local economy. Page 5 there, just a listing of the committees and boards that I serve on or host. And then the master plan. Most of you were included when we conducted all of the surveys and compiled all the information to create a master plan in 2021. We knew that there was going to be a great deal of federal funding available in response to the pandemic, and wanted to make sure that we were in a good position to apply for those funds. So we compiled a lot of information to create the master plan, 31 guiding documents throughout the county, everything from city strategic planning, county strategic planning, economic development, the chambers, everybody, Game and Fish, YDOT, all of our partners. We brought all of those guiding documents together, looked for common themes. We brought together a steering committee of 24 local leaders, conducted almost 300 visitor surveys and 300 resident surveys to come up with that master plan. And I shared that with you last year. Tourism product development, I'll talk about that next. Historically, when our budget was lower, we were only able to focus on marketing. We have moved more into product development in recent years. So when you travel somewhere, you're looking for what is the hotspot to see? What are the attractions? Is there a guided tour? Is there a ticketed attraction that I can see, that I can experience without having to go and explore on your own? So we wanted to make sure that we could provide a ticketed attraction in Sweetwater County. So when folks come to the area, they have a guided experience and have someone there to interpret our area to them. So we started the bus tours around Flaming Gorge. In 2021 was the first summer that we launched that. We've hosted over 500 passengers. It's a full day guided tour around Flaming Gorge. It has 9 different stops, lunch, ice cream included. We've had a lot of 5-star reviews for it. It's been really, really successful. Speaking of Flaming Gorge, most of you already know, but in 2021, we were also able to apply for and receive the designation of All-American Road for the Wyoming side of the Flaming Gorge Byway, the Flaming Gorge Green River Basin All-American Road. It's one of only 37 All-American roads in the country. The only other one in the state of Wyoming is the Beartooth Highway. So we're in a really, really impressive class now. We knew that it was amazing, but now the world will know more about it as well. We had a new video created to showcase that byway. I'll play that now. There is audio, but. Is there anything I can do different? No? I could sing to you. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful video. It just has music behind it describing that byway. Talk about sandboarding. I have 2 other videos, so hopefully we can figure that out.
She's working on it.
Sandboarding. So in addition to the product development of the Flaming Gorge bus tours that we added in 2021, this last summer, we started selling sandboards. It's a way to experience the Kilpecker Sand Dunes without having to own or rent an ATV. It's something that's been done around the world. We've never really done it here before, but it's a great opportunity for folks to take their family out and enjoy the sand dunes. It's the same as snowboarding. People who snowboard are really good at it. People who ski do not do as well, but yeah, it's a lot of fun if you get a chance. We'll even lend our boards out, but you can rent them at the Rock and Roll Rentals as well, right there off of the interstate by Curl Jack's, that rental facility. They have them for rent and we have them for sale. They're $209 a board, and you don't want your very own board because it's a hike up to the top of that sand dunes. You want to share that board with someone else and take your break every other ride. It's a lot of fun. We featured both the new Mustang Loop Trail and sandboarding when we partnered with KUTV2 News this last summer. We've been partnering with them for about 7 years, I would say. And every year we're able to showcase what we have going on in the area. I have a video of that if it'll show with audio. It's really uneventful without audio, so I might skip it if we can't get it. We'll come back to it if we can. As I just mentioned, the Mustang Loop Trail, we worked with the Wyoming Office of Outdoor Recreation to secure funding for some signage for that trail. As you know, a local group of mountain bikers led by Randy Dale were able to build out that trail behind the college there. It's 3 miles worth of fairly level riding trail to either walk or bike on. So like I said, I wrote a grant for the Wyoming Office of Outdoor Recreation to secure funding for the signage. We have the signs in hand. We just need to wait till the ground to thaw, and then we'll install them this spring. We also consider funding for anything that really enhances the tourism product in Sweetwater County. And we also funded the Brave Girl documentary. If you haven't seen that on Wyoming Public Radio or Wyoming Public Broadcast, excuse me, it's really impressive. She's really impressive. Then onto the big bulk of the budget, like I said, on page 8 and 9. 79% of our budget is spent on out-of-county advertising. The two elements there on the screen, our travel guide and our dining guide, are used in market here. We distribute those with the help of our partners. But most of the advertising locals don't get to see. We're targeting outside of the area to generate visitation. So just an example of some of the advertising that we place. We primarily market in the spring to generate summer visitation. Oh, this is a good video too. Hi, how are you? I'm a problem child here.
All right.
At least that's my.
Looks like I brought the Rock Springs curse, Janessa. She was always complaining the Rock Springs would never work, and here we are.
Mr. Chairman, could I make a comment?
Sure.
I think I talked to you about this earlier, but some of the residents of Farson were really concerned at the sand dunes that the people are throwing trash all over there. They're going in the wilderness study area. Is there any way you could work with the BLM to get more responsible use and boundaries signs up? I know it's hard in the dunes because the sand shifts, but they were almost crying. They were so upset that so many people. We want tourism, but we don't want them to destroy what we have and what we love. So
Oh, absolutely. That's an ongoing conversation with the BLM.
yeah,
They're aware, they're working on ideas to. improve
Okay.
that. Definitely.
all right. I thought I would.
Wish there was more that we could do as the lodging tax board, but yeah, the BLM is very aware. They're as frustrated as everyone else. It's just putting a plan in motion to help mitigate that a bit. I understand completely.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Great. On the computer. We'll just. That's not gonna show everywhere. It's waiting.
I can always just send links out to the videos too. It's okay. Want to hold everybody up.
Well,
That's all right. I'll send out links. Thank you
okay,
so much.
sorry.
No worries. I'll send you links to those videos. They're really fun. Then on page 8 there, we spend a great deal of money marketing Sweetwater County as a travel destination. If folks get here as a visitor, they arrive in Sweetwater County and they don't have a good experience on the front line, whether that be with the front desk, checking into a hotel, a maintenance issue, a housekeeping issue, an issue at a local retailer or restaurant, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth and they go back and tell people about it. So we want to make sure that the folks in Sweetwater County who really are excelling in customer service are recognized for their efforts. So I created the REACH Awards in 2008. It stands for Rare and Exceptional Achievement in Customer Service and Hospitality. And we used to recognize the frontline employees that were excelling in customer service once a year, and now we recognize them quarterly. So I want to make sure those folks really understand how important they are to the overall tourism economy and that their efforts really are appreciated. Again, they're on page 10. You can also see We implemented a certified tourism ambassador program in 2021, actually. This is a customer service training. It's a national program. There are several destinations all over the country. I think over 50 destinations all over the country that have this program implemented. It's a training credential. So it's a 4-hour training. The folks are trained for partially on Sweetwater County attractions. It's a 200-page pre-read that lets people know what's really important to share with the visitor regarding Sweetwater County, what our notable historic information is, what our attractions are, what we can brag about, basically. And then the other half of the training is customer service specific. You can take that to any employment opportunity that you have as far as being able to provide quality customer service. So it's a great program. We have over 130 certified tourism ambassadors now in Sweetwater County, which is great. And then every year we make sure that the advertising that we are deploying is generating a return on investment to the local economy. So we commission what's called a conversion study and an advertising effectiveness study every year. And we know that the advertising that we placed in 2022 generated $65 million in visitor spending, influenced 46,000 visits. On average, folks stayed about 3 days. They brought 2.7 people with them, engaged in over 4 activities. And the average trip spending per party was about $1,400. So for every dollar that we spent to advertise to folks, getting them to visit Sweetwater County, there was a return on investment of $399 to the local economy. So that's exciting. And that's all I have unless there are any questions.
Thanks, Janessa. Appreciate the update. I do have a question. It's time marches on and you kind of forget, but the master plan, as I recall, there was like the top 3 or top 5, wants, I guess, or maybe even needs. Do you remember those off the top?
The number one is collaboration. The
Collaboration.
number one goal in that master plan was collaboration with partners. And then it goes into product development. Trails really rose to the top. Wayfinding and trails really rose to the top. Both communities want to enhance the trail system. And then there's a lot of conversation about a trail between the 2 communities. But that's what rose to the top. Collaboration, wayfinding, trails rose to the top, and obviously maintaining and enhancing the attractions we currently have was a big part of it. So I have applied for over $2.5 million worth of funds to develop projects out of that master plan. So part of them are along the scenic byway. So 2 different grants to build turnouts along the Flaming Gorge All-American Road, and then a wayfinding grant as well. So we were really happy to have that plan in place and ready to go when those applications became available, because we've already vetted these ideas. We're all on the same page. I'll resend you that out again, though, the master plan. I can send that when I send the video link, so you can glance over that again as well.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, if
Commissioner
I
Slaughter.
could, Janessa, thank you very much for the presentation.
Absolutely.
Very good work. I apologize for our AV equipment not
Oh,
working
it's
for
fine.
you. It's very unfortunate when you put as much work into it as what you did for it not to work, and I apologize for that.
No worries.
Really, truly appreciate all that you do and what you've done. This is excellent information. I just have one question.
Yeah.
And this is where my mind goes when I get to these things. If you look at page 8, under new content, you have 7 must-try eats. I just wonder what the 7 must-try eats are.
Oh, yeah, there's some great ones. We really do focus on locally owned restaurants and donut shops and things like that. But yeah, I'll send you the link to that as well, so you can read.
That just jumped out at me. Hey, there's something I need to know about.
Yeah, no, it's really good. People love lists, as you know, but we focus on locally owned restaurants and businesses. And we really have had an expansion in our coffee offerings and breakfast offerings. So we really focused on that recently. The travel guide that you have in your bag as well is brand new, hot off the press. It has a page in the back that's focused on that as well. So there's a dining guide in there as well. We like to, within the dining guide, bring out the third-party reviews on TripAdvisor and online websites like that. So folks can see, what are people saying about these restaurants? You believe those reviews. So we've added that to our dining guide as well, to really give people an insight to what people are saying and what locals love. People want to know what the locals love. So that's in there as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman.
Barson Eden Valley is very sad because Mr. White is taking Sweetwater Smoke to Coyote Creek.
I know, and that's in the travel guide.
So we're gonna miss out on good food at that one location up there.
Come on to Rock Springs. We're very excited about that. Yeah, can't wait for that.
What do you, when you have people stopping in, do you get any negative feedback or I wish you guys had this, or, I mean, do you get much of that or?
People have been looking for a steakhouse for a long time
Yeah.
and they want wild game to eat,
Okay.
you know, an elk steak, or we get a lot of questions about that, but that steakhouse has been on the list of requests for a long time. Absolutely.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Thank you.
Thanks, Janessa.
Thank you.
Appreciate taking the time to come update us today.
Thank
Next up, look, we're ahead of schedule. You guys were doubting me after that last meeting.
We're not gonna
Sit
talk
tight.
about that because I remember what happened last.
Next up, tab E, we've got Candy Pendleton with the Sweetwater Events Complex 2022 year in review. Mr. Spicer here as well. Good morning.
Good morning. Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Candy Pendleton. I'm the Executive Director at the Sweetwater Events Complex. And good news, bad news, I don't have audio. I'm not that fancy. So you just have to listen to me talk for the next 15 to 20 minutes. So we have been the last couple of years really trying hard to make sure that you all are aware and that the public's aware of what's happening at the events complex and what we're doing for the community. So this is the second time I've been to talk to you about this is 22 year in review. It's a little strange, I know, because we work on the fiscal year with you guys, but there's just no way I can do this in July or August. So you have to put up with me after the first of the year instead. So Mr. Spicer is here with me today. He's the chairman of our board. You guys have seen him several times. He always pals around with me. I always like to start off with our mission and vision. We have worked really hard to make sure that our staff and our board know all of these. Sorry, you're good. That's all right. I'm going to keep talking. Our mission is to provide quality year-round recreational facilities and services which enhance the quality of life and economic opportunities for residents, businesses, and visitors of Sweetwater County. Our vision is to ensure a vibrant, well-maintained facility that offers space for social interaction, embracing change, celebrating people, and enjoying life. Thanks. There's an easier way to do this, you all, but I don't know what it is because it's not working for me today. So, guiding principles. This was something new for us last year that we looked at with our staff, just to make sure we all knew what the steps were to sort of get us to this big picture, right? The vision's the big picture, but what do we do to get there? So our guiding principles, we came up with 6. Public benefit. We're committed to providing a community center for our residents. One of the big things that we talk about often is a balance between national and regional events and community events. We want to make sure that this facility is available for the public, as well as bringing an economic driver into the facility. So we work at that a lot. Facility improvements, we're continually working to maintain and improve the facility and grounds. And if you've been out there at all, I hope you've noticed that our staff is great. Our maintenance team is fantastic. They are right now tearing up tile and putting down some new carpet in the hallways in the exhibit hall. So it's just sort of constant, the upgrades. We support local. We're dedicated to the people and businesses in our community. We work really hard to spend locally. We work really hard to use local contractors. Obviously, there are rules with that, but it is one of our goals to use local contractors. We're uniquely Sweetwater. When we go to these different RV rallies and places to talk about what we have to offer, when we talk about Wyoming, people don't often think about Sweetwater County, right? They think about the Tetons and Jackson. And so we always have to talk about what Sweetwater looks like and what we have here. And I think we forget sometimes the beauty around us. We take that for granted. And so we spend a lot of time talking about what we have here and what's unique. We value our guests, and making every event a success is our highest priority. Janessa just spoke about that as well. One of the things we hear often from visitors and people that we recruit to our area is they can't find a better place to come. They appreciate our staff. They appreciate the elected officials. They love that you guys are all in golf carts showing them where to go and giving visitor information. So one of the things that we hear all the time is how supportive and friendly our people are, and that's important. And then we strive to be an economic engine for Sweetwater County. We think that's been a role that we've taken on the last 10 years or so, and we take that very seriously. Oops. So Sweetwater County Fair Board, appointed by you all. Bob Spicer is our chair. Rob Zadi is our vice chair. Tommy Toman is our secretary. Janet Hartford is our treasurer. Coral Hewler, Roger Torgerson, and Paul Zancanella are all members. We will have 2 members going off this year, so we'll have 2 new members at the end of this year, but we have a very fantastic board. They're very active. They come out and help us during events. They obviously are involved in the business side of things, so we appreciate the Fair Board very much. And then our staff, our management staff, I think you know most of us, but myself, Drew Dunn is our operations manager, Erica Koshar, Tamara Musgrove, Shay Lux, David Fry, and Jeremy Boyer. You guys have probably all met. The team on the side is our maintenance team. They're the guys that really get out there and make sure events are set up. They clean up garbages. They do everything to get things up and running. We have a very small team of people, 16 people on the staff that run all of the events that we do. And then we hire some part-time in the summer, but a very small staff. Very young staff. If you look at that group of young men there, very young staff. I'm included in that, by the way. So I'm going to share with you, we did some economic impact numbers for 2022, and the economic impact that the events complex had on Sweetwater County is just short of $16 million. So $15,974,000. That's direct visitor spending. That does not include any economic multiplier. So if you have seen many economic impact reports, you'll see that they have somewhere between 2 and 7 is the multiplier. And I spoke with Commissioner Slaughter about this at one point. Can't really find a good reason as to why those multipliers change and what the multiplier should be. So I just didn't include a multiplier in here. So almost 16 million in direct spending based on the events held at the events complex. So here's how that money breaks down. That 16 million, think about that number. Almost 2 million comes in from horse racing. That's the money that's given directly to the counties and the cities. And we've talked about that numerous times. One of the events that I think has some huge potential and that will bring more and more money to the county is called Royal Crown. It's the event that happens right after the fair. It's a barrel racing and a team roping, but they're expanding to 10 days this year and they have millions of dollars pumped into that. And they're on the grounds with about 1,200 horses and 600 campers for that 10 days. And it has some huge potential. They're expanding into Canada this year. It really could become something that is impactful for us. Wyoming's Big Show generates about 3 million. The RV rallies last year generated 1.7 million. And then the general operations, which includes motocross, BMX, 4-H, horse shows, Sweetwater Speedway, all those things that we host out there, Muley Fanatics, Elk Foundation, all those things that you have been to, they bring in the bulk of that at $8.7 million. So ROI, last year we had 2.267 mill levy allocation. That was the money that was received from the county mill levy. With the 15.974 in economic impact, for every dollar that was invested from the mill levy, we returned 7.05 to Sweetwater County. So again, really proud of that and proud of the fact that most of those dollars come from a small group of events that maybe allow us to keep things open for the public or allow us to keep the prices down for the public benefit. So just some fun numbers for you. In 2022, we hosted 11,683 overnight campers. That included people just stopping for the night and the RV rallies. Those campers, using the numbers from Wyoming Tourism, spent $2.3 million in Sweetwater County. They figure they spend $198 per night is what that number equates to. That's the Wyoming Tourism number from Dean Runyon. So 11,683. We think we'll just see those numbers continue to rise as we start bringing in more RV rallies and as people are traveling more. We had 1,379 rental space days at the events complex. So that counts every single space that people rented. So if we had 8 different events going on in a day, it counts as 8, obviously. So lots of days that have multiple events going on. So to break those down for you, that 1,379, 760 of those events were banquets, celebrations, trade shows, meetings. 411 are equestrian events that are typically held in the indoor arena. 139 are community service days. These are the free days that are given just so that we can help do our part, right? So 4-H events happen for free at the events complex. We know that's an important part of what we have done and what we are. Emergency services, elections, the flu clinics, all of those things, 139 free days that were given. And then we had 69 wheeled sports with BMX, motocross, speedway, and car shows. Again, trying to balance rental spaces with free public access. We have tried to make the public aware of the free spaces on our grounds where anybody can come out at any time. So the Yellowstone Arena, which is the arena that is to the left as you're driving on Yellowstone Road across from Wataha Park. We don't rent that space. It's typically available for free all the time. So Yellowstone Arena is always open and available. RV spots in our campground, oftentimes people come to dump at the end of a camping trip. Not a big deal. You can come and dump there for free. We have several green spaces and dog parks available, picnic tables. We have 2 memorials there on the grounds. The motocross track in the summertime is open to the public. We only have a handful of events down there, and otherwise people can come and ride their motorcycles down there. Fishing ponds and the other various areas that you can walk around on the grounds. I mentioned in the slide about the maintenance team that they're fantastic, and I will tell you that every time that I'm here. But we have been working really hard to do some improvements. So we completed a structural safety report at the grandstand facilities. That was one of the things that was really important as we started talking about horse racing last year. We have done a bunch of improvements down there. We painted the beverage rooms and the PMS rooms. For those of you who don't know what PMS rooms are, they're the rooms on the sides where they do the bedding that have all the windows in them. Those are the PMS rooms. We're replacing roof materials. Both of those buildings had flat roofs on them, which I will never understand. So we have put a pitched roof on those and changed that to metal. We've installed the horse racing and rodeo murals on the back of the grandstand. You can see those as you drive up Yellowstone Road. We updated and remodeled the office trailer for a temporary jockey's room last year, and we installed a test barn, fencing, and hot walker for the state veterinarian. Emergency lighting in the exhibit hall, emergency exit signs in the tent structures. We added HVAC in the indoor arena crow's nest. And then with part of our capital money that was given to us this year, we replaced the indoor arena, east indoor arena, and sheep barn lights with new LED fixtures. That's been huge. And we replaced the exhibit hall and indoor arena exterior lights with LED fixtures. So the only thing we have left that's not LED are our street lights and our parking lot lights, which will be next on the list. I think I missed one again. Hang on. I have fat fingers. Okay, so facility improvements, things that are still in progress. We have put in a second dog park down by our lower campground. So if you remember, we have 360 acres right there, and towards the back of our campground, towards where 191 would be, we have that what we call Boar's Tusk Campground and the motocross track. It's sort of been no man's land down there. Honestly, we didn't have a lot of creature comforts, I would say, down there. So we've been working really hard to make that more enjoyable for people. If we're going to ask people to camp down there and ask people to come and spend time with us, we need a few other things down there. So we added a second dog park. It's where the goats used to live, if you all remember when we had goats on the grounds. So we have a dog park down there for small and large dogs. We have a Boar's Tusk green space, which again, these were also part of our capital plan last year. We're putting in a fire pit, gravel pathways, and shade structures. So we had a BMX track down there at one point before they moved to Green River, and we're turning that into a little park area. So there'll be some gathering spots down there. The indoor arena, we have added large fans in there to help with HVAC. That building is not heated and cooled for the most part, so those fans will help us control some of that. The outdoor pavilion is coming along. If only the snow would stop falling and it would stop freezing, we could cruise right along with that. But we still have landscaping to do on the pavilion and the structural finishes. And then the grandstands and horse stalls, we're going to repair the horse stall gates and improve site drainage and build the race office and jockey's room, hopefully starting this spring. And again, that was the money that was also earmarked from this commission, from the horse racing money, to be used to help them make those improvements. So those are shared 50-50 typically with the racehorse company. So coming up this summer, we will have the foundation pavilion hopefully fixed in the spring. Again, if you all could pray for an early spring, I would sure appreciate that. We have a lot of projects to finish up this spring, but the foundation will be done. Airstream will be the first group to use that. And then we have calls continually for weddings and family reunions and stuff out there. So it's going to be a great space. The Airstream rally is here in June, completely sold out. They have 1,200 full service spots sold out and 125 boondocking. So it will look very similar to what the facility looks like during National High School Finals. The Red Desert Roundup Rodeo is an annual event. The Wyoming State High School Finals is coming to us in 2023 and 2024. We won that bid a couple of years ago. Royal Crown and the fair, and then of course, horse racing. So a busy summer coming up. And then just so you guys know that we're planning into the future, as I know you all are also. 2024, again, we have the Wyoming High School Finals. We will have another rally, Escapade Rally, which was here a couple of years ago, has agreed to come back. National High School Finals will be on site. They're here for 2024 and 2025, and then our annual events. High School Finals is here. Again, they're bigger and better than ever also, and I'll share some information with you as we get finished here, but they're in Gillette right now and will move to us next year. So future plans for us include getting our master plan updated, which we have talked about for about a year and a half now. But just so we're all on the same page, I had been working with Christina Marshall to see if there were some grants available so that we could do that through a grant. She's busy. She's crazy busy. So we have not been successful at doing that yet. But I do think there is some of that money in the horse racing money and some horse racing opportunities available there that maybe we could use that money to go forward with the master plan. I do have some pricing on that, and I think we're ready to move. So I had requested or mentioned to Commissioner Richards that maybe we should do a workshop, and I can give you more information about that. But some of the large capital projects that we've talked about for years and that were on the 6 penny list were additional indoor arena dedicated to equestrian and livestock, possibly doing some renovations of the current indoor arena to make it more of a multi-use facility, and then expansion of the exhibit hall and renovation of the sheep barn and the small hall. So those are sort of all on the table. We have had some pricing on and off with those things, but I think we all need to decide what our priorities are. The commission, the county, our board, and the public need to figure out where we want to go with our facility. So we just don't want to be left behind. People all around us are doing the exact same thing, and we need to step up and figure out where we want to go. And that's sort of it in a nutshell. So I have some other information if you all wanted to see it, and I'm happy to just send it to you via email. I do have the current requirements for National High School Finals Rodeo if we want to be involved in that bid process going forward. They have updated what their requirements are to be competitive in that. So I can send that your direction, but they are asking for lots of indoor facilities. Frankly, I don't know if it's a possibility for our county anymore, but I want us all to be aware of what those look like. And I had the pricing, initial pricing on what those 6 cent projects look like, so we could decide if we wanted to start looking at maybe what that would look like moving forward. Questions for me?
Thanks for the presentation, Candy. Appreciate that. Any questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richards.
Candy, thanks for coming and give us the update. Can you just bullet point what those requirements from the High School Rodeo Association look like?
Sure. So for the high school national finals, they want 2 indoor arenas for their core events plus 2 covered arenas. So 4 indoor arenas preferred. 1 arena suitable for practice jackpot pen, 2,000 horse stalls, 1,500 campsites, 75,000 to 90,000 square foot of trade show space, and then shooting ranges close by. For the junior high school finals, they want 2 indoor arenas, 1 practice jackpot arena, 1,500 horse stalls, 1,200 campsites, trade show space of 60 to 70,000 square feet, and then a shooting range nearby. So we are definitely closer to meeting the qualifications for the junior high finals, but we're off on both right now.
And then the Royal Crown, I've heard they're looking for other locations. What do we need to do to keep the Royal Crown in Sweetwater County?
They also really need 2 arenas. So right now we're making do with the 1 arena that we have and using our little practice area, but they really need 2 indoor arenas to be able to host that event successfully. They're running enough people through there quickly that right now they're starting at 5 in the morning and running until about 2 or 3 in the morning. I mean, literally we have like a 2-hour time to get the arenas flipped around for the next day. So they really need 2 arenas also.
Thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
how much in general round number is a new arena, or would a new arena be?
I think that's a tough question right this minute with the way things are going. So I will tell you, we had a cost when we talked about the 6 penny 2 years ago of $16 million for a new arena.
Thank you.
I do think there are some things that we could do to maybe cut that back a little bit. And certainly depending on what you wanted to put in that building, that number could go up, but I think that's probably close. Part of what the master plan would do, if we can move forward with that, would give us some estimates on what those things would cost.
Thank you.
All I hear is cha-ching, cha-ching, Candy.
I know. I agree with you.
Costs money to keep up. doesn't
It does cost money to keep up. Interestingly, I think I sent you all, or I sent it to Commissioner Richards, but National High School Finals was supposed to go to Kansas City in 2027 and 2028, and they have defaulted on that contract. And so they are going back to Gillette. And Gillette, if you all have been watching, is just investing about $250,000 in a new master plan, because I think they are trying to become the permanent home for National High School Finals Rodeo. So again, I'm not saying that we should be in that competition with them. I just think we all need to make sure that what we're doing is on purpose, right? That we want to go forward with what our plan is and not just let things happen around us.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Slaughter.
Candy, if you could just let us know, and I may have missed this in your presentation, but yeah, I believe that you said that the county's appropriation for the events complex last year was about 2.2 million. How much does the events complex contribute to its overall budget percentage wise with
It's
respect?
typically about 50-50 depending on the year. So our total budget this year was 4.435, I believe. And I can send that to you for sure. But typically we've generated about 50% and the mill levy has been about 50%.
Now, I think in conversations with Chairman Spicer, he had said prior to COVID that it was significantly higher, that you were able to create much more of the revenue in support of that. Are you seeing that improving, or do you think that that's going to improve again back to the levels that you were at, or?
Absolutely. I think if we can continue to solicit these large events that we're getting, those are the things that are bringing the money in. Those are the revenue generators for us. So if we could continue to solicit the RV rallies, National High School Finals, Rodeo, Royal Crown, those events, I think we could certainly be closer. I think we have been maybe 60-40, maybe even 65-35 at one point, and I could pull that information and let you know for sure.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you. Another excellent presentation. I want to thank you for your willingness to help me and when I've been over to learn about what's going on over there too. I really appreciate that. I've got a couple other questions, but I think they're probably more appropriate for a workshop format, and I look forward to doing that.
Wonderful.
So, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Thank you.
Thanks, Candy.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
being here. Thanks, Mr. Spicer. Good things happening out at the Sweetwater Events Complex. Okay, we are a little bit ahead of schedule, commissioners. Next on our agenda is a break. It looks like Mr. John Cash is online. John, you're up at 11:10. We're going to take a quick break and we'll resume at 11:05. Call this meeting back to order. We are out of break. And next up on the agenda, commissioners, is tab F. We've got an update on the Lost Creek mine, Mr. John Cash. Pretty cool name, if you ask me. It's about as good as Island. But sorry you couldn't be here in person today, but we appreciate you joining the call, John, and we'll turn it over to you at this time.
All right, thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys again, provide a bit of an update on the Lost Creek mine. We've had some significant good events, and so I want to keep the commissioners apprised of those. And yes, I'm sorry I can't be there in person. The roads are closed, but it had been my intention to be there. But I guess we deal with the hand we're given. So, but anyway, in December of this year, we finalized some contracting for offtake agreements for the sale of uranium to U.S. utilities. This year, the contracting is for 200,000 pounds of U3O8 for 2024, and for the next 5 years thereafter, we're looking at contracting a book of 600,000 pounds per year. So that's enough under contract to incentivize us to make a decision to ramp up production. And we announced that to the public in December of last year. To meet that objective, we have been drilling and constructing at the mine site, advancing our second mine unit toward production. And within the coming weeks, we will be starting flow through the processing plant again at a significant rate so we can fill that contract for 2023. As part of that ramp up decision, we have been doing a lot of hiring. And so I wanted to give you an update on that. About the third quarter of last year, we had about 9 employees working at the site. Today, we have 41 employees at the site. The distribution of where those employees live, 23 of them live in Rollins, 6 in Casper, 8 in Riverton. We have 1 in Rock Springs, 1 in Glen Rock, and 2 in Hudson. So it seems like we cover about a third of the state by area trying to draw employees. Hiring has been a significant challenge for us. We still need 15 additional employees for the mine site. We're actively advertising and looking to fill those positions right now. But that certainly has been a challenge within the mining industry. And I understand it's a challenge throughout the industries, not just in Wyoming, but throughout the US. So that's certainly one of the issues we face as we move toward ramp up. The other issue that we've been challenged with, and we've already alluded to, is the weather. This has been a winter for the records. My guys are telling me that in the Great Divide Basin where we are working, there is no sage visible. It's completely white. The drainages have many feet of snow in them, and even on the flats, significant snow. And so that is presenting a significant challenge to us. One that we're working through successfully. But we are having to move a lot of snow, and even the hiring issue, we are working through that successfully, but it is taking a lot of creativity and a lot of additional advertisement and more work than we would need to do typically to bring employees on. We pay very well. We have excellent benefits with matching 401k, health, dental, vision, life insurance, time off. So very typical mining benefits that we pay to the employees. So we think we've got a good leg up there, and we'll be able to attract additional people moving forward. With regard to the state bond loan that Sweetwater County supported, we are making payments on that. Our last payment will be October of next year. And again, I just want to reiterate our appreciation for that. That was a significant help in getting the Lost Creek program, our project, up and running initially back in 2013. That was a dramatic help. and we'll be glad to make final payment on that here in the not too distant future. One other item I just wanted to bring up to your attention is we've made announcements late last year that we have 2 research and development programs ongoing. We are trying to lead the industry in research and development, and I think we've set a good course in that regard. We've had a number of tremendous developments in the past years, but the 2 projects we have ongoing now, one deals with a water well casing and installation methodology. What we found is it takes about 3.5 rig days to install a water well that we use for mining. It's made out of PVC. And we needed to find a different material for casing because PVC was becoming extremely difficult to get because of supply chain issues, especially out of the Gulf of Mexico from hurricanes, pandemic, and other related issues. And is also becoming very expensive. So we have developed a new casing method. We have applied for a patent for that. So the technology now is protected. We still need to perfect that patent. But that is in process. But what we found with the new material that we've engineered is that instead of taking 3.5 rig days to install a well, we've been able to reduce the rig time down to 0.5 days. So a dramatic reduction in drill rig time, which equates to a significant cost savings. So we've gone through phase 1 testing with approval from LQD, and we are now moving on to phase 2 testing. Because we know we can install the wells now. We've proven that's successful. But what we haven't proven out and what we're doing now is we're showing the injection rates that we can get in those wells. And so that'll be ongoing for the coming weeks and months if the weather will allow. And so that is in progress, and we'll report more to the public on that going forward. It's not just a cost benefit to us, though. It also dramatically reduces the drill rig time, which reduces noise, which reduces emissions, reduces water consumption. So there are a lot of side benefits to the technology that we're working on patenting. The second R&D technology that we've announced is with regard to water treatment. We've been making some very good strides in past years on reducing the amount of water that we consume. And we are now consuming less than well under 0.5% of the water we utilize is being wasted. But that's not sufficient. We want to further reduce that, and we're working on some new technologies to reduce that even further. Our objective is to get down to a wastewater generation of around 2 to 5 gallons per minute from the mine site total, all in. So that's our objective, and we're working very hard on that, and we hope to have more to report on that in coming months. So with that, I'll try to keep this short, pause here, and be glad to try to answer any questions you have about the status of the mine and the direction we're headed.
Thanks, John. Appreciate the update. Any questions, commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman.
The uranium, what was the number on the uranium that you're producing, the 200,000 pounds? And how many steps would that need additional to be able to use it for the Natrium plant?
Yeah, so this calendar year, 2023, we will produce to fill our contracts at least 200,000 pounds. In truth, we'll probably produce a little bit over that, so we've got a bit of a buffer, but that's our objective this year. That's not very much. The processing plant can handle 1.2 million pounds per year from the well field, so we're nowhere near our capacity. The coming years, though, for the next 5 years thereafter, we're looking at 600,000 pounds under contract. So that's getting up to a meaningful volume, and economies of scale are very important. So we do want to get up to that range or greater going forward. But after we produce the U3O8, which is commonly referred to as yellow cake, we typically will send it to a facility in Metropolis, Illinois. It's where Superman's from. And it's a conversion facility owned by Honeywell and General Atomics. And they take our product, U3O8, and they do a conversion. It's a chemical conversion into uranium hexafluoride, or UF6. After that, the next step would be enrichment. And typically that is done in New Mexico by a company called Urenco. Urenco is a conglomerate owned by 3 countries, Germany, England, and the Netherlands. But that's the only enrichment service here in the US. From there, it would go to fuel fabrication. And so that is the final step before it could be put into a natrium reactor. So there are 4 steps involved. Very importantly, and I'm sure that you are aware of this, you've been reading about this in the news, the enrichment capacity here in the US really only goes up to about 5%. And for the natrium reactor, they are looking for HALEU, which is high assay, low enriched uranium, which means it has a much higher percentage enrichment. Right now in the US, we don't have a facility that's licensed and built out to be able to do that. And that's why the natrium reactor has been delayed, is because there is no source of that material in the Western world. Unfortunately, the only source for that right now is out of Russia. And I can't speak for Natrium and where they're headed with that, but I don't think anyone is really wanting to get material out of Russia these days. And so the challenge going forward is building out that enrichment of infrastructure somewhere in the Western world, preferably here in the US, so that we can get to enrichments greater than 5%, which is what they need for the natrium reactor. And that is a heavy lift. That's we're talking about hundreds of millions, if not a few $1 billion to be able to build out that infrastructure.
If one more question, so what is your uranium going to be used for then?
We will sell it to utilities here in the US. There are 93 reactors here in the US that generate electricity. So that is our customer base. We sell it exclusively for electric generation.
Thank you.
Can you speak to your other casing method, John, or is that all proprietary information? I mean, I'm just curious how you guys, what'd you say? You went from 3 days of drilling down to half a day. Was that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So 3.5 days was what we averaged with a drill rig. We've gone down to a half a day. What we've been able to, and I can't say too much because we've not disclosed too much to the public, but what we've done is by changing the casing material, the drill rig now is effectively only drilling a hole. They are not installing the casing. They're not doing the cementing. They're not doing any of those subsequent steps. So all they're doing is installing a hole, drilling a hole. And then our guys take over after that. And we can complete that hole in about a half a day. So all in, we can put a well in now in about a half a day, maybe slightly greater than that. I do want to reiterate, we have not completed testing on that. We're moving to phase 2 now to show that we've got the injection rates or the flow rates into the well that we need. And if we don't, then we may have to tweak that technology and they may start eating away at some of the time benefits. But we won't know that until we get into the testing. So that's where we are right now. We're very excited about that. So far, the testing has gone extremely well. And if the weather would break for us, that would be fantastic. We would get back to it in short order.
Sure. And did you state how many wells you guys have in production?
Right now, just a handful of wells that we're utilizing. But as we bring each header house on, there are going to be about 90 wells per header house going forward. 60 of them are injection wells and 30 of those are production. And so we'll have hundreds of wells online at any given time. And these are not your standard oil wells, so please don't think of them in that way. These are constructed more like a water well that a rancher would have, relatively shallow, typically about 450 feet deep at Lost Creek. And right now, as we use the PVC casing, it's 4.5 inch inside diameter.
Any other questions, commissioners? Well, John, I appreciate you taking the time to update us on what's happening with your Lost Creek plant there. Sounds like you got some exciting things coming in the future and some pretty increased production in the near future as well. So we look forward to tracking the progress and good luck with your phase 2 testing as well.
All right, thank you for the time. And if any of the commissioners wanted to come out and take a look at the mine, just get in touch and be glad to give a tour.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, we are now on to tab G. Looks like we're right on line with the schedule there, but we've got approval of the annual compensation agreement for Tracy Meets, University of Wyoming, Sweetwater County Extension Office Associate. Morning.
Morning, commissioners. We are here mostly because we wanted to introduce ourselves to our new commissioners. We're extremely excited to have you as our new commissioners. But more importantly, we are here mostly just to update you. The previous board had already approved this annual compensation agreement prior to Tracy's hiring. We just got Tracy hired here a few months ago. And we just wanted to come in and update you. This is a new contract that really just has the changes of her name added to it. And her annual salary is a little different as well, but I'm sure as you will see, it's a little lower than what you previously approved. So that's exciting, right? Maybe not as much for Tracy, but we really just wanted to come and introduce ourselves and give you the chance to have the ability to reevaluate this annual compensation agreement. So.
And what was your name?
Marty Henry,
Marty
I'm
Henry.
sorry. I'm with Sweetwater County 4-H and I'm the county coordinator for UW Extension.
Okay.
In Sweetwater County.
Got a bunch of newbies up here, so you got to keep us in check.
I should have started with my name. I'm sorry.
Very good. Any questions on the annual compensation agreement, commissioners? Doesn't look like it.
Mr. Chairman, I would defer to our legal staff. I am not sure. Do you have any comments on the agreement?
I would just, I think Ms. Henry stated it pretty well. You as a board had approved a budget allocation and that this is a follow-up. There are two agreements, two employee agreements, one for Ms. Henry and then this one here. As Ms. Henry identified, both agreements, this one in particular, is within the amount of your budget allocation. So it does require a two-step process. And this is just approval of the amount identified. Ms. Lane did review the amounts and they are again within the allocation.
Thank you. Could I ask another question?
Absolutely.
How's the rental agreement working with the college? Are you still housed there? And is that working out okay?
We are. We've had a few hiccups as of recently because they are trying to still charge us the same rent that we were in with our larger space, but we've ironed that out and we are working through it. So, but it's still working.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? If not, what's your pleasure on the annual compensation agreement with the UW Extension Office?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
make a motion to approve the annual compensation agreement that is amended from the previous approved agreement and authorize chairman to sign.
Do you have a motion to approve? Did we have a second?
Yes, I would second that.
I think we got a motion by Commissioner Shanefield, second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks for
Thank
being
you
here.
for your
Appreciate it.
time.
Congratulations, Tracy. Next up, we have tab H, resolution 2302 CC03 to adopt the Sweetwater County official logo. Mr. Tim Knight is back in action with us today. You should have that in your packet as we discussed at the last meeting, commissioners. Morning, Tim.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We're just formalizing the acceptance of the county logo that we presented last week through this resolution, and I just have it up for your approval. So whatever you decide to do.
Any questions on the logo or the resolution, commissioners? Well, if not, let's make this official.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I would move that we adopt resolution 23-02-CC-03 to adopt the Sweetwater County logo.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Second by Commissioner Tillman. Any further discussion?
Yes, we need business cards, new ones.
They're in the works, I think.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Tim, and thanks to the committee for making it happen. It's exciting. It's finally official. Next, commissioners, is tab I. We've got the great Jim Zimmerman in attendance here. Go over some inspections, violations, and fire updates. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. This is our time for our annual Dog and Pony Show. Thank you for having me, and especially for the 3 new commissioners. Congratulations. Just wanted to get before you and let you know what we're doing down here in land use. My boss, Mr. Bingham, is here in case we have any questions on either my inspections or my violations. So let's start this. I have a few things to come across today. First on your list there, if you have the paperwork in front of you, is the completed fire inspections. This is for 2022. So just wanted to bring attention here that I have 32 outstanding ones that carried over from last year. 3 of them we've already taken care of this year, but last year was a banner year, 57. It's my highest per year since I've been here. So that's a good thing. So more inspections means more building in the county. So I completed 57 last year. I'd like to draw your attention under the inspections by IFC class. That's the International Fire Code. And so the bulk of what you're going to see in Sweetwater County is residential, R3. So I do inspect houses throughout the county, make sure they're up to code for fire, make sure they're accessible. And I also, the other one, the last one, the U miscellaneous, 200 inspections over the lifetime there. That's your accessory buildings, which you know is very popular in Sweetwater County. That's your garages, your workshops that most people they move out to the county to build these buildings. So that's a quick look at the fire inspections. I'll take questions. If you want to stop me anytime, feel free. If not, I'm just going to keep on, and then we can cover any kind of questions in the end. Next is nuisance and zoning analysis. That's your next sheet. So under nuisance, I have 13 outstanding that I'm carrying over from last year. And under zoning violations, I have 5, one of which you've heard this morning with Mr. Jackman. That's an outstanding zoning violation right now. So what I want to point out here is it was a down year, 2022, for violations. So uptick for inspections, down year for violations, that's what we like to see. So I had a banner year, obviously, in 2021, but we only had 46. So under types of compliance, just want to explain that a little bit. We have 3 types. We have those that when I send them a letter and tell them I've got a complaint, I'm asking for voluntary compliance. 77% of what I go out and attain happens within that voluntary abatement period, which is very good. We're excited about that. We want them, it's the least work that has to be done by our office and by the county attorney's office. Then I have after posting. So in other words, they didn't believe my voluntary letter and refused to clean up, and then we post them. We actually put a sign in their yard and we serve them with the sheriff's department, what's called a declaration of nuisance. At that point, it becomes a legal matter. It goes to the county attorney's office, but it still doesn't go to court. At that point, they have 60 days by court order to bring the nuisance under compliance. So you can see there 136 of those waited till they got posted and served. Now we get to the last number there, 6%, that 47 is after we've gone to court and the court has said, you need to clean up or you're going to jail or you're going to get a fine. At that point, as of to date, we're batting 1,000. Everybody has cleaned up. Ultimately, some of them take longer, which means they go to court. but only 6% go to court, which isn't really a bad number. When I first started, that number was 10, a little over 10. We brought that down to 6%. And just so the commission knows, right now we have somebody in that system that is defying cleaning up out in the Red Desert. They're taking mobile homes, junk mobile homes from the Rollins area that have been condemned. And instead of taking them to the dump, they're placing them on their 40 acres out in the Red Desert. We have a complaint on it. We followed it up. Our next court date is March 14th. I have mentioned that if any of the commissioners would like to come, it's March 14th at 9 a.m. If you have any questions on that particular case, we're following through with it. It's a man that's I've worked with since 2012. He's someone who's constantly in violation. And this is one that Mr. De Leon and the county attorney's office wants to clean up finally, once and for all. So violations by area, the next topic down below that, you can see I've put the number of violations and what community they're happening in. So number one, and clearly number one, is the Clearview subdivision. I think you all know where that's at. That's sort of behind White Mountain Mining Company, the restaurant. Then we have Mountain Air, we have Jamestown, various locations. That's all over the county, the town of Reliance and Eden Farson. So that's pretty much our update on zoning and nuisance violations. I'll pause just a second here if anybody has any questions on that, because that would be under my responsibilities under Mr. Eric Bingham in the land use department.
Do they have, I mean, is there a common theme with some of these violation areas? I mean, obviously Clearview's got the most. I mean, what's driving that?
It's junk, it's debris, general junk, but it's rare for me to get a female that's violating. It's mainly men. And what I've learned over my tenure, the women hoard inside the house. I'm just saying what I've come to learn. The men hoard outside. So we're talking inoperable vehicles, automobile parts, junking up. I do have some women, but it is a high percentage that it is men. I had one guy, we took him to court years ago, and he said, "Don't you understand? That's a fender off of 55 Mercury." You know, that's the kind of answers I get. Judge Lavery said to him, "Well, if it's that important, it should be inside." And what could he say? So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so men are the problem, basically.
You're smart. You're smart.
I can read between the lines.
Mr. Chairman,
I would like those $5 bills, ladies, later.
Commissioner Slaughter.
Jim, is this system completely complaint driven, or do you actually get out and do do you ever have the opportunity to go out and do any site?
Good question. Okay, when I started this position, well, if you see on my sheets here, under the fire inspection, it says there since September 2008. That's when I started with the county. So that's what I was hired to do, the fire inspections. In 2010, if you look at the nuisance and zoning, that started in 2010. In 2015, then I got zoning violations. So those were added to my slate. But right around 2012, the commission made a decision at that point that they no longer wanted me to look for nuisances. They said, if someone can live around it without a complaint, we're not going to touch it. So the nuisances are complaint driven. The zoning violations, on the other hand, are not complaint driven. I often go in the field, having on fire inspections, on nuisance inspections, on any of these things, and I see buildings that have been built without a permit or somebody doing something. I don't need a complaint on that. Correct, Mr. Bingham? But a past commission had made it that it has to be, the nuisances have to be complaint driven. That's what I'm working under currently.
Mr. Chairman, I would find it interesting to see what this commission feels with respect to that, just for a review on that at some point in time. I have some mixed emotions on that. So just food for thought.
All I would say is he's
Thank you.
one man and we gave him the fire warden job.
Thank you, Commissioner Slaughter.
Yeah, I'm sure it would come down to a matter of, I mean, that's a lot of inspections for one person to do on top of going out looking for nuisance violations. I mean, I understand where you're coming from because there are areas that are, kind of an eyesore within the county, but it's a matter of staffing, I would tend to assume. Any other questions on the violations section? All right, on the fire, I guess.
Okay, may I approach?
Absolutely.
What I have done, I realized that the paper that I submitted was the fiscal year. So what I thought you might want to see is the calendar. Because what it will do is it really points out more of the fire season. Because when you go fiscal year, the fire season gets split right in the. And so I thought, I mean, you can look at both. It's going to be primarily the same numbers. It's just shown different ways. So, okay, you see the spreadsheet that I have given you. So, wow, it's going really, really well. So what we see here highlighted in yellow at the bottom of the totals is going to say $319,445. Now that's basically almost through 9 months. So I do have a charge from Wamsutter. The charge for Fire District 1 is 0. They had no calls in January. I'm waiting on Green River. Green River is going to be several, they just run months behind. It's just their system. So it's almost 9 months once I get that number from Green River. So we're looking at almost 9 months at 320,000. Then the plus good news is through the help of many people, especially Christina Marshall, we were able to go in. Of course, John wasn't included. John De Leon was included. Commissioner Toman was included. I don't want to, I'll forget somebody. Eric, Gary, we were all sort of working on this, but industrial siding, we have money that comes in for that industrial siding for fire in the areas that are affected by that industrial siding. So what happened was we got a hold of the industrial siding board down in Cheyenne and explained what the county has done, that we have gone to contracting. And this money was asked for equipment and different things that were to use with Sweetwater County Fire Department. So we told them how it was changed. We explained it. Am I correct, John? Am I explaining this right? We explained to them on the phone and judgment was passed that we're just running it different. We certainly can use that money rather than just let it fall away. And Christina, Christina likes to cross her T's and dot her I's. So she's in agreement. First was Gateway South for Wamsutter, that they allowed us to use that money for incidences. So bingo, plus. Then we looked at that, Commissioner Tolman and I said, hey, if we can use that, why not use, I talked with Christina, why not use the Exxon Mobil over here in Green River, towards Green River? And again, it was a yes and a plus. So if you look at this spreadsheet, what I'm trying to accomplish here is the money that's come in for incidences from Green River and the money coming in for incidences from Wamsutter have been covered by those industrial siding projects that are right below it. And you'll see the allotment, and then you'll see the remaining. Now, if you look, The only thing that's changed when we go to the the calendar year is it looks like a higher number remaining in Gateway South. That's because on the spreadsheet I originally gave you, that 16,350 was charged from Wamsutter. So, but all the other numbers add up. So we're down now to currently 2-year, $137,238 for the contract agencies, our cooperating agencies, so far in approximately 9 months. That's a win-win. That's a win-win for the commissioners. That's a win-win for the county. So last but not least, down at the bottom, I'm tracking calls because I think this is a very important statistic for us to look at. So what we have here is, if you see the second to bottom line, it's the fire/crash split. So, we're looking at Fire District 1, 14 fire calls, 7 crash calls. That's what you're thinking of when you're thinking of a fire department. Then when you get to Green River Fire, out of 89 incident calls, 72 of those were crash calls, mainly on I-80. And then we go to Wamsutter, and something you would certainly expect, out of 82 calls, 72 were on I-80. So the basic bulk of this money, if you would look there, we've got 192 incidences calls through the end of the year. 151 are crash calls. This is something good for you to see. I'm working with Megan Toomer in our department to pinpoint them so that you can see where the groupings are, see where those calls are, both the crash and the fire. So we are going to work on that. Who's been dispatched to those crashes? And so, but if you just look at simple math there, 41 fire calls, 151 crash calls. We're basically looking at 3/4 of our incidences are crash calls. The fire departments are crash calls. We're averaging about 21 calls a month. So,
Chief, you might mention that we have an MOU with Carbon County where that accident occurred. So those calls are not even covering 30 miles of Sweetwater County that's taken care of by Carbon County.
well, it is taken care of by Wamsutter, but Carbon County has an MOU with us, as you all well know. I think it's $12,000 we pay them
Right.
annually. Is that right?
Yes.
That's $12,000 we pay them annually. Then we have a mutual aid agreement, a MOU. They come over, any kind of crash in there, they'll merge. Wamsutter was on site also. So Wamsutter and Carbon County will merge on that. And what Commissioner Tolman's referring to is they reported to an accident at 4 a.m. and ended up on the ice there. A semi lost control and hit the ambulance while they were out assisting another accident and killed the one paramedic. So terrible, terrible. And the commission did send flowers and responded to that thank you, Commissioner Schofel.
Yeah, terribly sad situation, but these are a success indeed when it comes to fire MOUs and the change that took place there. So I appreciate the tallies here, Jim, and all the information and work you put into this.
Can I mention one other thing? At the very bottom, I have an average cost per call. The prior administration in the fire department, the prior fire warden, when he was bringing information together to present, to make a decision on whether to keep Sweetwater County Fire, his guesstimate was $1,600 per call. So I just wanted to draw that to your attention. We're looking at between Fire District 1 and Wamsutter, under 1,000. Green River, a little over 1,100, comes out to a little over $1,000 average per call. So I just wanted to draw that to your attention that the fire departments are doing an excellent job also as far as the resources using county provided equipment. And, we have seasonals. that we have in place for Fire District 1. Also, we have 8 seasonals and 2 wildland vehicles that are stationed for the difficult fire months at Fire District 1. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, you're fine. Thanks, Jim. Do you have a question, Commissioner Shanefield?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to add, because this is a new commission, and I also think it's good to go back and look. The appropriation to the original fire marshal, for last year was $808,000 and $494. And then if you look back to fiscal year 2020, the commission approved $956,672. So when you look at these numbers, and knowing that the people that need these services are still getting these services, often by the same people that were going in the first place. Thank you. Thank you for showing us that this has made a big difference, and that we are saving money while still being able to provide the services we need across the county. And I think the partnerships that we've had with Fire District 1, Green River Fire, Wamsutter, you've done a great job in fostering those and continuing to build those relationships. And I wanted to say thank you for that as well.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Schofield. It's a big plus and a big pat on the back for the commission to make such a bold move that they did. And it certainly appears to be working well.
Mr. Chairman,
Very well put, Commissioner. Commissioner Tillman.
some of us are short some skin, but anyway, it's all right. We want to thank especially Jean Legursky and Gary McLean and the staff, because they were able to work with the fire wardens and fire chiefs and determine exactly what we had in the county and what the needs were, and able to put all of this together. And without their help, we could not have done it. So, and thank you to you for stepping up to take the new job. So we're excited.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richards.
Jim, thank you for the work you're doing as our warden. In a previous life, I was on the Fire District #1 Board of Directors, and that was in the early 2000s. We identified that a lot of our resources were going to rescue emergency calls on the interstate and going to people who were not taxpayers within the district. What we found out was pretty much every insurance policy has a rider in it to pay for those services. And without costing another cent to a Sweetwater County FD1 resident who got in a wreck on the interstate, we found we were able to bill somebody else, somebody who was traveling through, got into a crash on the interstate, and we were able to bill our costs to their insurance. At the time, I don't know what they've done recently, but at the time, if a person didn't have the right insurance or didn't, or their insurance denied it, we stopped pursuit of that. But we were able to raise a considerable amount of money to offset the cost to our taxpayers. Is that something that we could accomplish now through what we're doing? I see so many highway emergency calls, and Commissioner Tillman mentioned that earlier, that we're providing those services on the interstate. Is that something we can pursue?
Commissioner Richards, yes, they are doing that currently. I spoke to Fire District 1 specifically about that, and their answer to me was it's always been a minimum thing. It's a fight thing with the insurance. They don't, of course, want to pay as little as possible. He said, fortunately, on a call, if we get $150 to $200 on one of those calls back from the insurance company, and he said what we'll use them for is tires, gas, to maintain the vehicles. And with us giving the Fire District 1 and the different co-ops, we give them vehicles from the county that they're using. They're using them to offset all those costs because the county, all we're doing is anything major happens to that equipment, they take it to the shop and our shop works on it. But all the regular maintenance, they're responsible for and do. And Fire District 1 said that's what they're using that kickback from the insurance to do. I did ask that specific question. Good one.
Thank you.
Yes.
One last point. 69, almost 70% of the county is public lands, and the BLM does have a fire crew, and most of the fires that would be major type of grassland type of
Yes.
fires, we don't have a forest system too much.
Yes.
Unless you count sagebrush. So they are covering most of the fires in the county and
Yes.
they reimburse the providers if they help with
Yes.
those fires.
Due to the checkerboard. Yep.
Any other comments, commissioners? Well, Jim, I appreciate your time. I don't know if the public grasped the drastic savings there, but as Commissioner Shanefield pointed out, the fire department went from anywhere from 950,000 to 808,000 on a budget year. And this year, we're so far looking at 319,000. You take out the industrial siding fund, 137,000 year to date. So great work by all. Appreciate all you're doing, and thanks for keeping us up to date.
Thank you. If I may, one last thing, and it's just a quick item. I'm seeking permission to take down the Sweetwater County Fire Department signs off the building that's on Blairtown. I quoted the IFC Chapter 9, and it states, any device or structure that has the physical appearance of life safety or fire protection equipment, but that does not perform that life safety or fire protection function shall be prohibited. So for us to have signs on that building calling it a fire department, I really feel we need to remove those signs and take them down. And I'm looking for the commission for permission to do that.
Everyone concur, commissioners?
Yes.
Take them down, Jim.
All right.
That's a little less dramatic than the last signs we dealt with.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, commissioners.
Appreciate your time. Next up, commission is tab. I got too many notes written down here. J, we've got discussion regarding the capital committee with Mr. Gene Legursky. Welcome back, Gene.
This one hopefully will be easy. Previous boards have allowed us to run a capital committee. And for the new people, what that is we send out an email to all the department heads, all the component units, all the elected officials, and say, hey, what's your capital expenditures going to be for this year? Mainly over $10,000. They submit back a form to us that says, here's what we would like to do per project. They actually rank them themselves. So like for mine, I get to rank my projects 1 through 9 or how many ever projects I have. That goes to the capital committee, and then the capital committee puts them together by core county and kind of looks at ranking them. The membership, just so you guys know, is I call it the budget hogs. So it would be Gross Nickel, myself, and Tim Knight. Those are the majority of the capital that gets expended. The people that keep us in line are Marty, Bonnie, and Christina. Those are the people that either handle the money or can find grants for the money. And then there was always a member of the board. Roy Lloyd was on that last year. And what we do is we sit around the room, we discuss all the projects, we discuss the merits, and then we rank them and give them to you. Okay, capital, core county wants to spend this much in capital. Here's what we think are the most important things. You guys can adjust that number or anything. And what we're kind of serving twofold. What we'd like to do is in the lean times, we still need to do capital. Capital is one of those ones, it's probably almost 22 to 25% of our budget. We still need to do capital. We need to do maintenance on buildings. We need to do maintenance on parks. We need to buy vehicles. We need to buy bulletproof vests. We need to do all these kinds of things. The interesting thing that we like doing at that capital committee is sometimes I need to replace a HVAC unit or 2 or 10 or 22 of them or however many that we have. Gross Nickel needs bulletproof vests. I can turn around to John and I can look him in the eye and go, okay, I think I can defer this for another year if you need these. And we can look back and forth instead of everybody just putting their stuff in and then, kind of pulling it out of the pot. So we get to rank those. You guys still get to change them. The other thing that's nice is how this works is if we have, say, 20 projects and you guys only have funding for 11. What should happen is 12, 13, 14, 15 happens next year, or if we have extra money because we're actually tracking these in projects, if we have enough money because we've saved money on projects or biddings come under or something like that, and we can get project number 12 done of 11 that you guys approved, we come to you and go, okay, we've saved this much money, can we do number 12? And all that's already figured out. It's not it's not me going, okay, well, if I inflate my budget by $400,000, then I can go out and buy paint for Commissioner Slaughter's office. since we're picking on
Totally
that.
makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Remember, I'm his liaison.
That's why he's getting picked on. I don't want to pick on anybody else, so. But that's what, we can do that, and it's all documented. Christina has set up an awesome project management system for us. So anybody that you guys can get in, we can see how much each project's done, and then that way it's audited and everything like that. So we would like to keep continuing that and going forward with that with your guys' permission.
I think it makes good sense, Gene. And what about the veteran commissioners that have been a part of it? I mean, it seems kind of like a no-brainer, but anyone have any feedback?
My only concern is that, and it looks like there's a new bill in the legislature, not the component units, but some of the other units that we fund, like the joint telecommunications or joint communications, they're going to have very expensive equipment, and they are not allowed to save or reserve any money, and they've used it all up because we've cut their budget. Is there any way to include some of those entities in that capital list? I know they're not a main department. But
We could, and we do. And what we do is, and Candy can correct me if I'm wrong, but say last year she had 3 projects that she sent to us to go into your guys' place. We don't rank those. We just put them 1, 2, 3, however Candy does. And then we have, Sweetwater Events Complex, Museum, and Library were the 3, and they had their projects. We just list them, and then you guys get to decide on those.
Oh, so you do already have them on that?
Mhm.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
great. All right.
And that way you guys can look and see, what you guys feel. I mean, you guys are ultimately in charge of the budget, in charge of the capital, so you guys can look. We're just expressing our feelings like we think this is important. You guys can jump them up however you want, but at least there's some forethought into that. I would ultimately like to get out on a 5 to 10 year capital construction plan. This building's almost turning 60 years old right now. There is a lot of maintenance, HVAC units, our heater, chiller system is old. You look at, I'm afraid to go down there and knock any of the rest off the pipes because I think that's what's holding some of it together. But some long-term stuff, you look at the detention center is a perfect example. Detention center is almost 17, almost 18 years old. Gross nickel, and I like joking that that's midlife crisis for a building. It's more than midlife crisis for a jail that, for one, it's 24/7, 365 that nobody wants to be there. We lost an HVAC unit back in November. When you go up on the roof and you're installing that one, you realize there's 18 other ones up on that roof, but all of them are the same age. We need to start really looking forward to that and planning that. So my belief, I don't know if this is your guys' belief, this is the gospel according to Gene Legursky, but maintenance cannot be deferred during lean times. You always need to set aside some money. Else you fall so far behind that you never catch up. So.
Completely agree. Everyone good with continuing on with capital committee? Sounds
Yes.
like it. So we'll move on to tab K, discussion of various Sweetwater County buildings.
What I'd like to do is just kind of, for the new commissioners, we have a bunch of buildings that are out there that are either vacant or very, very little used. And there's some other buildings that are out there that aren't used by any core county. They're component units and stuff like that. And what I included in your packet is a summary that was put together back in 2018 by the building committee, all the different buildings that we have in the county that are either currently being used. And when we are able to move in the night tool building in January of next year, we will be consolidating. That is, the Green River Road and Bridge right now is only used during the winter time to store plows inside so we can preload them with sand. It's not used, excuse me, any other time because they're all over in Rock Springs. The Road and Bridge building that is located on Blairtown Road, over by the Lewis and Lewis Trailer Court, Jackman's Trailer Court. That one will be completely vacated. And then also the fire fleet maintenance building right now, half it is used by the fleet maintenance guys that take care of about 325 rolling stock between the two guys. That one will be completely vacated. So we need to come up with, and I don't expect to do it now. Maybe it's maybe it's a roundtable discussion. Maybe it's something else, what to do. But I want get you guys familiar with all of these buildings. The one just down the street, the juvenile probation, that's been vacant for almost 4 years. The state of Wyoming, that was one of the ones where we almost had it sold. They actually found that back in the 1930s to 39, it was a fueling station. So when they actually did some poking around, there was some benzene in the soil. So we signed up for the leaking underground storage tank program, LUST. We pay $200 a year. They're currently remediating that portion of the building, and it's actually just the southeast corner of that building had a little bit of benzene that they could smell in there. Well, not smell, test. So that is getting looked at. I think the main thing that we need to, or you guys need to decide, is how we want to do this. I do know 3 of these buildings that there are people that are interested in them. I don't know if you would like me to talk to them. Of course, I couldn't make any decisions for you or bring anything to you guys, but mine would be, hey, you guys want to go look at them? I've shown, you know, about like the old hospital, I've probably shown 25 times in the last year. And then I always say, if you guys want to do something, you know, bring something in front of the board, you know, get it to me. I can get it through the attorney. So at least it's, you know, we have the skeleton there of what's right, but then any proposals come through you. If you guys want to, you know, have a lead person that you guys want to go talk to them people, I'm fine. I just need a direction to go to so we can continue consolidating these buildings. And kind of do, and I don't want to jump on Jim's thunder, but great savings there. I think when we start consolidating the buildings and we get rid of buildings, the savings is amazing. You know, utilities, duplication of services, forklifts, and we have 7 of them. We'll get down to 2. You know, just little stuff like that that really adds up when we do stuff. But if we don't have a plan and we don't start moving forward in the consolidation process, we're going to be sitting here in January, moving to a new building, and still have 8 buildings out there that, you know, could be vacant. So I just would like to open it to that discussion. Like I said, these all were done back in 2018 when we did a big presentation in front of the board. If you look at the utility costs right now, the utility costs have been up about 11.5%. If you actually look at just at 11.5%, the all utility costs, maintenance costs, custodial costs are pretty comparable year to year.
Who was on the building committee, Gene? Is that still in effect or?
Not really,
No?
but it was Marty, myself, Chuck Radosevich, Gary, Wally Johnson, if I remember correctly.
I was just wondering, I mean, I think you bring up a good point as far as trying to plan for that. January will be here before we know it. So I don't know if it would be wise to put together that committee again to try and start working together on, you know, finding these interest groups that you're referring to. I don't know if you commissioners have any other thoughts or feedback on that, but that's a lot of vacant facilities to sit there to have to heat for no reason.
Well, heat, maintain, you know, our facility guys still do daily walks of them, make sure there's nothing leaking, no toilets left on, no vandalism, stuff like that, you know. So by the time you add all that up, you know, we periodically go over quarterly, clean them, you know, especially the C Street building. If you don't clean them, it's amazing what water sitting in a toilet for 4 months does.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Slaughter.
I just think that we as a commission need to be much more proactive. And I agree. I look at what these costs are that we're incurring and feel like we should be looking at potential ways to divest ourselves of these buildings one way or another.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman.
I was going to say similar thing. Is there a way to get a committee together, prioritize them and actually even list them?
Sure, we can do that. One of the other things that, just so you guys know, there is a couple buildings that have unique situations on the titles out there. The C Street Old Hospital, the office building, for lack of a better word, that we have, that has a reversionary clause back to the Union Pacific Land Resources. I've emailed the lady that I know in Omaha half dozen times. She actually emailed me back yesterday for the first time. The email that I sent her last time was 18 months old. She goes, "Hey, I was going through some old stuff and stumbled across this." She's retiring, is what she emailed me. And she said, "Hey, we don't have anything to do with this anymore. You know, UP Lands went to Anadarko. Anadarko's divested into different things." She said, "Get a title company." And she goes, "I don't see a problem with it, but we don't own it anymore." The building down here, the old road, the Green River Road and Bridge, that has a reversionary clause back to the city of Green River. But we do have, you know, the salt sand building on there. We do have the archive storage, the museum storage on there. So we need to do some stuff like that. But like I said, if we don't get a plan, we don't start looking forward, January and more snow will get here than we know of, and then it's tough to do stuff. So.
Well, maybe it might help economic development too, even if you can get it
Yeah,
on some
we
national
showed.
listing.
We've showed, and Eric does, Eric and Kayla do list some of our buildings on there. And, they promoted some of our buildings during the different stuff and showed them, but it's stuff and nobody knows exactly what we're doing with them.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
So I did want to mention the SEDC, that we can get them listed on the Wyoming sites for economic development opportunities, which is awesome for our community. And then I'd also think the SEDC would be good to be on that board. They might, or that committee, they might be able to help if there's, at least they'll have a little bit more in-depth knowledge if there's companies coming in and things like that. And I agree with Commissioner Slaughter. I think we need to be very proactive about this. Get the ones that need to be reverted back. Otherwise, let's get them gone. Taxpayer dollars is spent on it once as well. And so if there's other areas within our community that need it, that are also being paid for by taxpayer dollars, and that's something we can look at as well. So.
Any other thoughts or comments, commissioners? Any volunteers for the committee?
Chairman, I'd be happy to serve on.
Okay, well, I guess we can get together and try and form some form of a committee on that to make a plan forward. Sounds like Commissioner Richards is willing to serve, so we'll
Okay.
try and get you some direction and start making a plan.
Do you mind if I reach out to the agencies that I know of that have reached out to me personally, or do you guys want to do that yourself?
I think if you've already been in conversations with them, I'm fine for that personally.
Mr. Chairman, I would also be willing to serve on the capital committee if we've lost. Commissioner Lloyd was serving on it. So I would be willing to do that. It'd be hard to work with Gene, but other than that, I think we can probably be fine. So.
You see where we're at, what you
Well,
caused,
sounds like
right?
he's got some extra pain if needed too. So.
It's just natural growing pains, that's all.
Yeah, whatever we can do to help you along the way, Gene, just holler. But yeah, if you want to reach out to those entities and let us know.
We'll see where we
We'll
go.
go there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Gene.
Hope you kept all those old paint samples,
We are right on track for a break for lunch, commissioners, unless you want to power through.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
Just a heads up, I have a meeting that I have to present. I'm hoping at 1. I'm hoping that I'm done and I'll be able to be back before executive session, but just a heads up.
So did you want to give us your credit card for lunch or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I got an hour.
We are going to take an hour lunch break. Our next item is tab L at 1:20. So we will resume in just about an hour.